This isn't a tornado warning.
They asked him the question, what would you recommend? He said, I would recommend one thing. Get Donald Trump elected president again, and you're going to have no problems anywhere in the world. Get him elected president.
Plenty of rotation. It's been indicated on radar. But remember, radar is scanning a few hundred feet in the air, if not a few thousand feet in the air, right? And so that doesn't guarantee that's what's happening at the surface. We can guarantee when you get those line of sights, and it's just not happening. But look at this. This is another impressive aspect. It's just the towering nature. The warm air that's rising is creating this massive updraft, and let's cut it off at the top. And you're looking at 45,000 feet, maybe even north of that towards 50,000 feet with these storms that have warned as tornadoes and confirmed as tornadoes. So what that tells us is that with vertical growth oftentimes becomes the most instability, the most energy that's embedded. Not only is there a tornadic risk, there's a large hail risk. We've already seen hail reported in this area up to softball-sized hail. That's 4-inch in diameter. As we zoom in real quickly, there's that broad rotation. You see that gap of gray right there? That's an indication that there's not enough gate-to-gate shear. I think that low-level shear just not present there. By the way, Highway 70, that's where we have Vince Welty with his shot at times. Below me is the local affiliate there in Clarendon. That's what's happening tonight. But we have to take a pause of what's happened here recently. Take a listen.
You're looking at an incredible shot of a massive wedge tornado that roared through parts of Heartland, Iowa. You can see the strength of the storm as it crosses this highway here. Because
intense damage that you see behind us right now, actually, right? This is the home of the Langen Fields. And it's just heartbreaking, Kiana, when you look at this here and you see the damage is beyond just the outer walls. It's the entire home.
Inside of the home, outside of the home. We do have Julie and George Langenfield joining us now, and we do want to thank you guys for joining us. I know this is a really hard time for you. Kind of walk us through the moments that you realized this was a serious situation and you needed to head to the basement.
We were watching it come across Omaha and into Iowa, and we were following it. And as we watched the trees at the neighbor's farm go down, we decided to head down to the basement ourselves.
And Julie and George, I remember Kiana and I actually were tracking this Friday night, that powerful EF3. There's multiple vortices, but by the time it reached you there in Heartland, it became a massive wedge tornado. And sadly, this damage the tornado caused was unimaginable. A wedge is very wide and creates that extensive damage. Can you walk us through what it's like? We see what it is in your home there, but for the community of Heartland, what it looks like now.
Well, the town of Heartland was luckily spared. We live about 2 miles west of Heartland, and it just kept moving mainly towards the northeast and just took farm after farm after farm. And it went for about 42 miles. They said the path was clear up to Manila, Iowa. But our son lives a half-mile north. That's all gone. The neighbors north of that is damaged, but a little bit catty-cornered from him. That place is pretty well gone, and it just goes for mile after mile, farmstead after farmstead. They are basically gone.
It is such a heartbreaking experience. I can only imagine. Talk to us about where you are right now. Behind you, it looks like there's a door. How are things holding up?
Well, that is the door to the north side of our house, onto the deck. We have started to just basically take everything out of the house. Saturday we took everything that might possibly be salvaged, but there's no salvaging probably anything.
And Julie and George, I noticed in your shot too, gray skies has been a threat that keeps reappearing. It seems every day for you. What are the plans to rebuild? Is it here in Heartland again?
Yeah, we'll rebuild on the spot.
Yes, it's a beautiful community that you have. You can tell when you look at the open farmland and space that you have there, it is a beautiful area of western Iowa that you have there. Can you talk to us real quickly about these storms that you've seen after this? Have they impacted your homestead there?
There needs to be a lot of field cleanup and outside cleanup. And that has not happened because there's no way to walk the fields right now because there's been too much rain.
So it just shows.
And even getting the large equipment in has been tough.
Yeah, it's a painful process, a long, arduous process, and it's only being slowed down by Mother Nature. George and Julie Langenfield, thank you for sharing your story. We are thankful that you guys are okay. I'm sorry for everything that you lost with your home, and we'd love to check in with you as you continue to rebuild. We want to be there with you here on Fox Weather. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we're going to continue to watch those storms that are forming just south of George and Julie. This is actually in Texas. Make sure you stay with us.
There is one new severe thunderstorm warning for Texas.
Helping families with mesothelioma is all we do. Our firm has been offering a free book on mesothelioma for over 10 years. Since that time, thousands with mesothelioma have trusted us to represent them against those responsible. We have local offices throughout the U.S. Mesothelioma really is all we do, and there is no risk to you. Let us put a plan in place for you and your family. Call now.
Call us at 800-260-0800 or go to mesolaw.com.
I got the groceries.
You were just supposed to get diapers.
Couldn't find them.
Well, you found your favorite cereal. Go back.
Can't. We're kind of broke until payday.
Well, diapers kinda can't wait. I'm getting the Empower app. Empower Cash Advance gives me up to $250 instantly. No late fees, interest, or credit checks.
Hurry back.
No guarantees. Diapers are so hard to find.
Get Empower Cash Advance from 10.
And we will restore free speech, and we need free speech in this country. And I will do something that nobody else has a passion for like I do. I will secure our elections and make them real, beautiful, safe elections. And our goal will be one-day voting with paper ballots, proof of citizenship, and voter ID. Very simple. Voter ID. But until then, Republicans must win. We have to win. We have to win. That's why I say, use your heart. Go back to the abortion question. We have to win.
There is one new severe thunderstorm warning for Texas.
It's going to be a very, very bad period for this country. We have to win those elections. We want, in the case of our election, our presidential election, we want a landslide that's too big to rig. Too big to rig. We got to make it so big because one thing we know, at a certain level, they can't cheat. They can cheat, but it won't matter.
It leads to visuals like this behind me, and it continues. Those areas in the Heartland that have lost everything, well, more storms are pushing in. And you'll hear from families that as they try to rebuild, it gets suspended, it gets stopped because of those new storms. Take a listen to the impact.
Police officers and sheriff's deputies moved in earlier to dismantle an encampment at the campus in Richardson. And earlier, we did see those deputies pulling down tents and making several arrests in the past few hours.
Tonight, we have team coverage of this developing story. Janelle Fort and Sydney Persing are on the ground watching this all unfold. Jobin Paniker at the Collin County Jail, where protesters are being booked right now.
Let's start with Janelle, who has been on campus for well over an hour now. What's happening, Janelle?
Well, Chris and Izzy, I want to start with where we are right now. We are in front of the student union. That's about 100 to 150 yards from where they built that encampment over in Chess Plaza here on UTD's campus.
There is one new severe thunderstorm warning for Texas.
Got out here around 4:30 this morning, and it's interesting to note because this is the first pro-Palestine encampment here at a North Texas university. Not the first protest, but the first encampment. Now, throughout most of the day, this was a very peaceful protest. Those tents were set up. People were there. They were fellowshipping. They were eating. They were talking about the conflict over in Gaza. And then around 3:30, we saw state troopers, sheriff's deputies, and campus police move in. They started making arrests. As of right now, it is not clear just how many arrests they have made in this. They began tearing down that encampment. They took all of the belongings of the protesters, loaded them in trucks, and then hauled them out of the area, and then continued to push and push and push before scattering those protesters. That was just in the past 20 minutes or so. They marched down here, again, about 100 to 150 yards away from the initial plaza. Set up here so far, we haven't seen any police, any state troopers here in this area. Another thing I'd like to note, the plaza they were in initially is typically used for free speech here on campus. Earlier today, university administrators told them that they needed to get out. When I spoke with organizers,
This is a tornado warning.
Until university administrators here met their demands. Their demands is that the university divest. So that's ultimately the opposite of invest in companies that they say are aiding Israel and aiding the violence in Gaza. That includes Raytheon, that includes Boeing, that includes Northrop Grumman and 2 other businesses. And they said that they're not stopping until that's done. They've been out here, they say they are not leaving, they say they will relocate as they need to, but they want their voice heard. They say this is all about the power of free speech, of stopping genocide in Palestine. So this is the result of that. As of right now, as you can see, things are fairly peaceful. They're chanting, they've got the signs, they've got the Palestinian flags up here. So we will see how long this lasts, whether university officials will call law enforcement in again to disperse the crowd here. But in the meantime, I'm going to send it over to my colleague, Sydney Persing, who is also here with more on what's happening.
Janelle, I'm actually just on the other side of this group of students from you. As you mentioned, the student union, this is where these students came following these arrests. I want to get out of the way so we can just give you a look at the other side again of this group of protesters. Now, as you mentioned, we've seen several students, alumni out here as well, protesting Israel's war against Hamas. As you can see, again, large numbers. Josh, you good? Okay, large numbers of students out here protesting in support of Palestine and the Palestinian people. There was a small group earlier of Jewish students, counter-protesters, if you will, who showed up with the Israeli flag. Just a few of them in number, but we did speak with them briefly. They told us that they are out here to share their perspective and that some of the protest chants that they have heard throughout the day have been hurtful and made them feel unsafe. I want you to take a listen.
I hear those words and it worries me. Israel is our only homeland, our only Jewish homeland. A large part of why it's created was the anti-Semitism around the world. We have nowhere else we can go. So, yes, I love Israel, and that's here.
Certainly lots of impassioned students, lots of emotional around. As you can see, students now are displaying a Palestinian flag. Again, we're out here in front of the student union. Passions are high, emotions are high. We will be here for the rest of the night. For now, I want to send things to my colleague, Jobin Paniker, who is at the Collin County Jail. Jobin.
Sydney, we had a chance to talk with the sheriff, the Collin County Sheriff, Jim Skinner. He tells us 19 people have...
Hi guys, that is a wall cloud and it's precursor. RFD clear slot, maybe?
Hey, Ben.
Yeah.
Is it all feeding to the left and that's twisting off to the left there?
I can't even tell, man. It's kind of weird. Yeah, I think that's like a little inflow thing. I think the spin might be this thing on the...
There is one new severe thunderstorm warning for Texas.
Mineral Wells is a charming community of people.
Before these storms start to move in. Luckily, we aren't looking at a tornado threat later on today. It is going to be mainly a wind, rain, and hail event. But of course, that's not necessarily welcome here. You know, all of this material that's been strewn about during this tornado is going to become very damp, waterlogged, and that's just going to make things even more difficult for workers trying to clear up, making it more difficult for this community trying to get back onto its feet. And you can see there's just a lot of damage here, a lot of debris, a lot of work to do, and more severe weather is not welcome here.
Yeah, we're looking at the winds right now, Max, gusting out of the south, 20 to 25 miles per hour. And it's something that's picked up quickly since the last time we talked to you. We'll check in with you again. But important to know how that weather is still hampering the relief efforts there in southern Oklahoma. Max Gordon, thank you for that update. We'll continue to check in with Max throughout the night. And Kiana, what we were just talking about with Max is alluding to what you're focusing in on as how these storms just aren't done. Same areas being impacted.
That's exactly right. And that's the unfortunate truth of tonight and the next couple of days for a couple of areas. We look out towards where Vince Walty is. I was watching this shot as you were talking to Max, Steve, because it looks like he's still following that same storm that has that potential to possibly drop a funnel cloud and eventually a tornado. So we're watching it very closely. Skies have turned very dark in the underbelly of this storm. So it just goes to speak to how quickly things are changing in parts of the Heartland and parts of the Southern Plains. Looking at some of the threats that we talked about, Max told us that where he is, he's not exactly expecting a tornado threat, but there are areas of Oklahoma back towards Texas and into parts of Kansas that could see that tornado threat into tonight. Also looking at a widespread damaging wind threat, as well as even that large hail threat that we'll watch for too. And a lot of these areas have already seen one or all three of these threats through the course of today. When we look at how things are going to continue through tonight, we have again that dry line that kind of pushes through. That's going to spark a lot of these storms. So heading back towards Kansas City, for example, into the late evening hours as well, we'll see a chance for thunderstorms. We catch a break tomorrow with some sunshine during the day. That break may be what breaks our chances of seeing a quiet evening. So we have a couple of thunderstorms expected for tomorrow, Friday evening, and even taking us into the weekend as we continue to watch a couple of things unfold for Kansas City. Let's look at the future radar. We take you through tonight. Again, a couple of scattered showers ahead of that main line that comes sweeping through. It's this line of storms that's going to pose that threat with all modes of severe weather on the table. So we watch it move in really from south to north as that low continues to pull off towards the north. We'll see it push through areas like Plattsville into Cameron late tonight into the overnight hours. We continue this threat into tomorrow. More of a possible risk in areas in the orange, but we do still have that red area indicating that there's a likely risk of seeing some severe weather. And then we finally start to scale things back as we head into Friday.
There is one new severe thunderstorm warning for Texas.
Pretty waterlogged. We've seen storm after storm after storm continue to move through some of the very same areas. So when we look at some of the rain totals, when we take us through the end of the weekend, Texas gets drenched once again. 2 to 3 inches of rain for Texas. 3 to 5 in areas like West Texas. We take you all the way up towards Kansas City, 1 to 2 inches of rain. That's going to lead to more of a long-term threat. We watch a flash flood threat unfold across parts of the southern plains today. Houston under that 3 out of 4 threat for flash flooding. It extends tomorrow up across the upper Midwest. We finally start to see things calm down as we head into Friday, but still a likely risk of seeing some flash flooding across the Lone Star State and parts of the southeast. So certainly going to be watching those areas that are prone to flooding. We talked about Texas earlier in the year, and even over the weekend, seeing a flash flooding emergency, Steve. So that's the last thing we want to see once again, but it's going to be something worth watching.
And as we watch this, Kiana, we look at tonight how quickly it has enhanced. When you look at the stats right now, we have 18 active warnings right now. This is what the week has been like so far. Over 300 severe thunderstorm warnings, over 70 tornado warnings, and over 50 flash flood warnings. So all of the threats are present. When you look at the live cameras on the other end of the screen, you'll notice that the skies are really starting to change quickly. So the concern pushes into the overnight hours yet again. As this develops, we are going to track it for you. Stay with us here on Fox Weather Live.
Hello, I'm former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee. A lot of times you can't control the amount of sleep that you're getting. You can't fall asleep or you're tossing and turning all night. You can't get the sleep you need to stay healthy. I know, it's scary unless you use Relaxium Sleep. Relaxium Sleep is a product that's made from natural ingredients, and it usually works from the very first night you try it. It helps you fall asleep, stay asleep, and wake up refreshed, earning your body those quality hours of sleep that it desperately needs.
Join the hundreds of thousands of people who've experienced the relief and health benefits from getting a great night's sleep and get Relaxium Sleep.
The first time I took Relaxium and I slept through the night, I thought, wow, this worked for me. I could not believe it.
Relaxium Sleep is studied, tested, and designed by a neurologist to help you fall asleep faster, stay asleep longer, and wake up refreshed.
Relaxium Sleep worked from the very first night I took it. I had more focus and mental clarity than I've had in years.
Relaxium is drug-free and not addictive, so you can take Relaxium every night and never worry about side effects. And the best part is, it can start working from the very first night.
When I take Relaxium Sleep, I sleep better than I have in years.
I wake up feeling like I've had the best night's sleep.
Stop being afraid and start sleeping your fears away with Relaxium Sleep. Your body and your mind will thank you.
Mike Huckabee is so confident that Relaxium will work for you, he's asked us to give away 1,000 bottles.
If you're not getting
There is one new severe thunderstorm warning for Texas.
Relaxium Sleep. I promise you it'll work.
Get your risk-free bottle of Relaxium Sleep now. It's guaranteed to work or your money back. Visit TryRelaxium.com or call 800-317-6312. That's TryRelaxium.com or call 800-317-6312.
Welcome back. This is a Fox Weather Alert. Look at what's happening in Perryton, Texas. Vince has been all over this storm, and we've been watching this develop as it really looms over Highway 70 there. You'll notice all the storm chasers that are in the parking lot alongside him. But really, when you're looking at the underside of this cloud and these storms, if we drop the banner real quickly, we do have that tornado warning in place and a tornado watch. Here's why, because you can see the tendrils, right, or that lowering on the underside of these thunderstorms. There's been rotation in the mid-levels of the atmosphere.
There is one new severe thunderstorm warning for Texas.
If there was a time lapse of this, you could probably witness that rotation. But when you're watching this at the surface, there's not enough low-level shear to support this actually getting to the ground. The concern is that later on tonight, it could enter into an environment that's favorable. We have seen tornadoes, today. And so it's not out of the possibility that at any moment some of these could form. Let's take you now into Brandon Kopic's shot, where he's in Kansas, right? So we go from Texas all the way to Kansas. And notice, you see on the edge of the screen that car that's racing towards him? And you'll see that dirt that's picked up and then the winds carrying it across the camera right now. That speaks to the wind that's starting to enhance as this gets closer. The underside of these storms look impressive. You'll see the daylight that's diminishing off in the distance. And then we have another shot from Texas. This is Childress, Texas. So this is actually south of where we had Vince. The team is stretched out tonight. They are tracking these storms. Normally they triangulate it, right? This is they're tracking the entire line, showing you that at any moment, whether it's Kansas, Oklahoma, or Texas, it can pop real quickly. I take you now to Clarendon. This is a local affiliate there. Going to be showing us these storms that are pushing through. This is a spot that not only had a confirmed tornado not too long ago, they also had baseball-sized hail, and now the rain's coming down, and you're starting to see the movement as they start to position themselves because this storm is about to move overhead. So what we're showing you is that all the ingredients are together, right? Think about when you're cooking up a dish, the ingredients are on the table. Some of them have already started to make it into the pan. But when does it all come together to make the dish, right? Because that's the threat that awaits us. Because that's why there's a tornado watch. A watch says the environment's conducive. A warning says it's imminent. A confirmed tornado says it's already happening, right? And now we look at on the other side of this towards Fort Stockton in the Permian Basin, there's severe thunderstorm threat. Probably the greatest risk tonight is going to be that large hail. And because large hail has already been confirmed, there's been softball-sized hail. Look at this again. Vince's shot is so impressive because you see the underside that lowers. That is a wall cloud. We're taking out on radar. This is the one that Vince is on. And so you'll see the notch, again, always present. Vince is on this road, Highway 70. The reason why he's moving right now is because this thing's drifting east. It's going towards Highway 83 now. But the rotation is just so broad. And so, again, it's not enough to get anything lowered beyond what you are witnessing here. There's that strong rotation prior throughout this storm. Again, this was a storm that had a confirmed tornado. Vince actually captured it multiple times, and then it'll pulse back up. So there's an ebb and flow to all of this as this continues to move. That's not the only one. That one is more supercellular, right? Because it's all by itself. It's uninhibited, has nothing to share the environment with. Now, these ones down here, you're starting to see this congealing effect. This is actually, I believe, here's Childress off to the very edge of your screen. That is where Corey Gherkin is at. So Corey's looking back at these storms that are overlapping, where you have 2 severe thunderstorm warnings and then 1 large flash flood warning. It's a considerable threat because of the wind speed at 60 miles per hour, but the rain is really starting to enhance, isolated amounts getting north of 3 inches of rain.
There is one new severe thunderstorm warning for Texas.
We have local knowledge. Sam, she had worked here for years. This right here is actually a massive canyon. It's the second largest canyon that we have in the country right now. It's underneath this. So she took away all the products to show you these ridges right here, beautiful canyons that you could probably typically hike, on a day like today. nobody's out there, right? It's just not safe. But this is supportive of damaging winds and large hail. So something that we'll be watching closely is as this gets closer to this event, as it progresses to the east and enters a more of a bigger population. Let's talk about people in Kansas, though. They're staring down a new reality after a tornado tore through a small town of Westmoreland. That's northwest of Topeka. This happened yesterday. Sadly, at least one person was killed and about 24 homes were damaged. First responders arrived to this, right? Complete devastation. Everything destroyed because of an EF3 tornado. Now, those first responders did grid searches. They went on search and rescue for people that were trapped in that debris. Fox Weather's Robert Ray is on the ground there right now.
For the past week, the Heartland has just been traumatized and hit by severe weather and twisters. Westmoreland, Kansas, yet another casualty of these systems as a tornado ripped through on Tuesday late afternoon into this town of just over 700 people. The damage is widespread in the north end of Westmoreland, where many neighborhoods are flattened and ripped up and people's lives dismantled. Unfortunately, one person did lose their life in this town and several others injured as cleanup is in motion here today. The process of removing all the debris and also mourning the loss of that loved one.
I do know we got 3 seriously injured in the hospital right now, but everyone on this block seems to be doing okay, except for, you know, we got displaced neighbors. Everyone who was at the daycare, they got under just in time. So I'm just glad we made it out all right.
Stories of fear and survival are beginning to be told here in this town. One teacher recounted what she went through and the fact that some of her students lost their homes.
Just waves of emotion, as you expect from anybody.
There is one new severe thunderstorm warning
really,
for Texas.
Sad and emotional and upset, crying, just needing to be hugged, to happy that they found a stuffed animal that was theirs, you know, so those memories. So it's just waves of emotion. So.
How will the community move forward in the coming days, you think?
Together. That's pretty much it. Just working together and loving each other. Those kids, they felt that.
The Westmoreland fire chief witnessed the actual tornado.
There is one new severe thunderstorm warning for Kansas.
It was the most beautiful, horrible thing you've ever seen in your life. It wasn't big, it wasn't very wide, but it was such a long spiral tornado. Very interesting.
Meanwhile, aid groups and volunteers from the region have moved in, passing out food and trying to help the community.
Anytime you can help anybody out, that's the...
There is one new severe thunderstorm warning for Texas.
It's never the wrong time to do the right thing.
So from here in Westmoreland, Kansas, to the north in Omaha, Nebraska, and even in Iowa, and to the south in Oklahoma, these pockets of the great heartland of the United States damaged by Mother Nature once again. In Westmoreland, Kansas, Robert Ray, Fox Weather.
Weather can be so unforgiving sometimes, and unfortunately when it comes to what's expected in the long term with this, we've seen a lot of areas time and time again continuously get soaked with rain, soaked with these storms. You're looking at yet another area, this one out of Texas. This is Clarity. Storm off into the distance that we're watching currently unfold as well. This is a storm that we've been watching over the last couple of hours here, but we're looking at what's expected long term when it comes to the threats that we've been watching at hand. Looking at the soil moisture over the state of Texas, it's very wet for East Texas. We're looking at areas like Houston, up towards Dallas, back towards Shreveport. This particular area, the ground here is so saturated that moving forward, any additional rain that we get could certainly lead to a flood threat Most of the rain coming from this past weekend's event. We looked at a couple of areas from Friday, Texas, 10, nearly 11 inches of rain over the weekend. Kansas saw 10 inches of rain, out towards Missouri and into Oklahoma, between 7 to 8 inches of rain there. So that is going to lead to that next threat. And unfortunately, it is this flash flooding threat through the next couple of days. Starting you off with today, we have some yellow popping up back across East Texas and over parts of Houston. That's going to be a 3 out of 4 level in terms of where we stand for that flash flood threat. We see this more expansive into tomorrow, now reaching all the way up across the Great Lakes, and back into Friday, we should start to scale things back. But notice which state is still under that threat. Texas. So we are going to watch Texas very closely over the next couple of days. When we look at the radar here, or excuse me, the future radar, looking ahead in time, we're looking at around 9 o'clock tonight, storms over Houston, storms back towards Austin. Dallas still pretty dry until we get around that midnight time frame. Storms start to come sweeping throughout parts of Dallas as well, and back towards, say, southeast Houston. This is going to lead to the threat that I talked about as the ground here is
conditions that I witnessed. And I want to say these are not unique to this experience of last night.
There is one new severe thunderstorm warning for Texas.
Conditions are throughout our jails and prisons in this country. But last night, I got to see firsthand this inhumane treatment of people who had been arrested. We were held in very long lines, hours, 5, 6, maybe even longer. Many of us were left out in the cold for hours, in the rain. We had our hands tied with zip ties behind our backs, very tightly done, and I think that was intentional. It was many people asked to have them loosened. The police refused, most of them refused. I saw incidents of people crying, breaking down because they couldn't stand the pain from the zip ties on their wrists. We were not given a place to sit. So people were standing for hours. People with medical conditions were denied access to medical treatment. People passed out. People were denied.
Last Thursday, more than a third of those happened since last Thursday. 124 confirmed tornadoes as you look from the southern plains all the way up into the Midwest. During April is when you expect Tornado Alley to really come alive. You'll notice Texas really starts to see the numbers uptick, but you don't see Iowa see the intensity and the volume of tornadoes. By the way, Iowa now leads the country this year in
There is one new severe thunderstorm warning for Texas.
So far. The concern, though, is not only how many tornadoes there's been in Iowa, but the intensity. Take a listen to two brothers and their experience when they try to take shelter from a powerful EF3 tornado.
As soon as I realized that everything kind of stopped happening, everything stopped running into the back of me. I kind of got up and looked down on myself to make sure I wasn't bleeding out or anything. And then
there is one new severe thunderstorm warning for Texas.
I kind of looked up and seen the entire house was gone, and everything next to it, everything was just completely rubbled. And then I was like, my brother, he was right behind me. He's gone, and I just started screaming.
There is one new severe thunderstorm warning for Indiana and Kentucky.
And the first person I saw, I went over to them to see if they can try and help me. And as soon as they saw me, they told me to sit down because my feet were all bleeding. And as soon as I sat down, I couldn't get back up. So it was probably about a good 20 minutes before somebody, thank God, was able to hear Roger or find out that he was still buried and get him out. So when he came walking up the street and walking, let alone
there is one new severe thunderstorm warning for Texas.
I think I could ever have.
There is one new tornado warning for Kansas.
Guild has the designers that get your heart racing. Dior, Valentino, and more. All at insider prices, new every day. The looks you want are yours, at up to 70% off, but only if you act fast. Because 1 second they're here, and the next, they're gone. Designer sales at up to 70% off. Shopguild.com today.
I got the groceries.
You were just supposed to get diapers.
Couldn't find them.
Well, you found your favorite cereal. Go back.
Can't. We're kind of broke until payday.
Well, diapers kinda can't wait. I'm getting the Empower app. Empower Cash Advance gives me up to $250 instantly. No late fees, interest, or credit checks.
Hurry back.
No guarantees. Diapers are so hard to find.
Get Empower Cash Advance from $10 to $250 instantly. Download the Empower app today.
Stop everything you're doing right now. Look at your screen. If you have Medicare, call this number. You may be eligible for a plan with additional benefits and savings compared to your current plan. The Medicare Benefit Helpline is accepting calls right now to see what plans with additional benefits you may be eligible for. If you're losing benefits, moving, or new to Medicare, you may be eligible to enroll in a plan today, but you won't know unless you call. Many plans offer vision, dental, hearing, or prescription drug coverage. To make sure you're getting a plan with the benefits you want, call the Medicare Benefit Helpline for your free, no-obligation Medicare benefits review. You don't get a Medicare Advantage plan with extra benefits automatically. You need to take action.
Call 800-681-5306. That's 800-681-5306. 800-681-5306. Call now.
Welcome to Fox Weather Live. I'm Steve Benner. We're talking about visuals like this and Mother Nature's fury that continues for those areas in the heartland. We've seen several communities left like this, just debris fields. And sadly, this has turned into a deadly outbreak, and hundreds of families have just lost everything.
And then I was like, my brother, he was right behind me. He's gone. And I just started screaming for his name. And like the way I was screaming will never leave my head, I don't think.
And so the central U.S. is actually bracing for severe storms again tonight as we enter into the peak of tornado season. But here's what we know so far. Since Thursday, 6 people have died. It was the second most active April on record for tornadoes. There was actually a staggering 323 reports of tornadoes last month alone. And then more than 1/3 of those reports actually just became between last Friday through Sunday. Thinking about the time frame of when so many people are outside. We'll get you caught up on everything that happened today, what's happening right now, and also what's expected to come tomorrow. There is a lot of activity tonight that's starting to enhance. Here's Gove, Kansas, and it is blinding rain that's coming down at times. And then you'll see in the tornado warning, Gove, Kansas. The Gove County, Kansas is under that warning. So that's where we find Brandon Kopic right now. Before we talk to Brendan, I want to show you on radar right where he's at in this line of in this storm. He's right behind it, and then you're looking at a nasty hail core and that bullseye that's coming in right in the center of that storm. You also have this that's coming in where you have that infusion from the northern side, that strong updraft that's aiding in that development of potentially larger hail. Right now, it's 1 inch in diameter. Well, there's no better way to just, find out if that's true, or maybe it's a little more robust than that, what radar is indicating just south of I-70, than talking to Brandon himself. So, hey, Brandon, this is Steve. It's good to talk to you tonight. I see that you're in Gove County, just outside of Jerome. Can you kind of talk about that, tornado warning that you are chasing right now?
Well, Steve, it's kind of hard to hear you right now. I'm in the hail core right now, but the storm's starting to rotate. It's been rotating fairly well through the last 20. Ooh, big hail. Okay. We got some big hail coming down, but it's clearly getting its act together.
Yeah, it's clearly getting organized, and Brent, I've never been told that I'm not loud enough, so that speaks to the intensity of this storm, especially when you're talking about hail. We just got that latest radar scan. You are in Kansas while the team is in Texas. Can you talk to us about that approach of you kind of going into this threat that's emerging in West Kansas? We may have lost Brandon.
I mean, it was kind of hard to deviate from everybody else today in the decision-making of today's target. But I kind of wanted to play along this portion of the warm front and triple point. Just waiting to see how the storm is going to evolve and see if it does want to produce a tornado.
I'm looking at Brandon's shot behind me right now, and it looks like he's on a driving range, and people are just pelting him with hail. But looking at this here, this is significant. This is volatile, Brandon, when you're looking at the intensity of this hail that's coming down. When we look at your live shot here, is this adding some new cracks to your windshield?
Oh, yeah. We are definitely getting through cracks. We got at least tennis ball, if not occasionally some larger hailstones, potentially upwards of baseball. Definitely, they're not getting smaller, I'll tell you that much.
And Brandon, yeah, you've got at least 2.5-inch diameter or greater. So as you had said, tennis ball to baseball. South, we've already had softball size hail. So this is a major hail maker. My concern for you is you're in a tornado warning, but there is literally no visibility. Blinding rain and hail that is just coming down. How fast did this system kind of pop up and evolve like this?
Well, I mean, it's rapidly been getting its act together over the last hour or so. Thankfully, we should be able to be getting out of the hail soon. I can see clear air to my southeast. We're performing a hook slice to get into better position for the tornadic part of the storm. But, oh, my goodness, that was a baseball. So, yeah, we're doing what we can out here.
It is impressive that you're that fluid with the environment, looking at that dry pocket of air while baseballs are being hurled at you. By the way, the larger the hail, the greater the speed that it comes down in the atmosphere. That's like an MLB pitcher that's just taking aim at Brandon's car right now. Brandon, real quickly, because I know you're focusing in on this, I do want to ask you, yours is an isolated cell, right? It's a supercell. The ones to the south are more linear. How does that change kind of that development and your chase overall when you're attacking this tonight?
Well, it just helps us be able to be in clearer air, to be able to visually see these tornadoes a little bit better. Oh, my goodness. This hail's getting big. Worried about losing a side window at this rate. But, yeah, it's definitely ready to get out of this hail and into a better portion of the storm where we can see things just a little bit better.
I'm seeing that spider web of your windshield cracked. Brent, I'm going to let you focus in on that. Thank you so much for talking to us. I feel that this needs to be the priority for you. Thank you, Brandon. We'll continue to look at his shot here real quickly for everybody that's at home. Let's address ourselves and let's talk about what's happening with his other team member. Look at Corey Gherkin's shot.
There is one new severe thunderstorm warning for Kansas.
There is what looks like potentially a tornado that's coming in. So I want to see, hey, Corey, if you can hear me, this is Steve. I'd like to talk to you. I mean, man, Brandon just got whelped and just smacked with large hail. From your vantage point, though, it looks like a new risk has started to evolve. The tornadic conditions, can you talk to us about that funnel? Has that actually gotten to the ground? Has that lowered and gotten to the surface?
There is one new tornado warning for Texas.
Yeah, Steve, I'm still quite a ways away from it. I'm trying to figure out how to attack this thing because the road network's bad and there's 3-inch hail on wreck equipment right now. But it definitely looked like it dropped several times there. It looked like we had a stovepipe. Looks like it's trying to come back down right now. But still a little too far away to justify for sure if it was down.
Yeah, looking at this here, it was impressive. You can kind of see it lifting up a little bit. We also have Brandon's shot on the other end. Remember, Brandon was saying at least tennis ball size hail. So that's over 2.5 inches. Corey's reporting potentially 3-inch. These are massive hail makers. Corey, what I've noticed out of this, and I'd like to get your insight, because it actually looks like a second rotation is embedded in yours. Look at that right in front. of the main funnel, of course, where your eye's drawn to. It looks like another one by that flashing light tower. Does that look like something's starting to form there too? Can you see that?
Yep, I can faintly see that, and it looks like overall, because it kind of had a little line that was going on here. It seems like all the cells kind of formed into one. It looks like we're getting one big supercell right now, because you can start to see starting to get that hook on the west side of Turkey there. So I kind of think it's just going through that cycle with all these cells merged together here, and it's becoming one big storm. So it could be like the last, I always call it the last hoorah here before it cycles off to the southwest.
And then look at that third feature, Corey. Right in front of that funnel that was lifting, it looks like a wall cloud is starting to form, or that could be potentially another, it's cycling through, as you were mentioning. I don't know if that is another funnel. It kind of looks like a wall cloud. I feel like you have a better vantage point from there. This is just impressive to watch how quickly this is all evolving in front of you.
Yeah, it looks like we had another wall cloud. You can actually see an RFD cut coming around that lowering that you're looking at. That's actually looks like the beaver tail. So yeah, it looks like we're watching another wall cloud form and get its act together up there just to the left of the heavier precip. And it looks like to the left of that, a little bit scuddy, but it's like the previous lowering is still trying to spin up a funnel there, or was.
Yeah, that scud cloud kind of lingering off in the background. As you had mentioned, Corey, this is warned for 3-inch hail as well, so that makes it
There is one new severe thunderstorm warning for Texas.
Hail that's coming down as you're trying to look at all this evolve. Corey, something I've noticed, and I'd like to get your insight, is that where Vince was at, just north of you,
this isn't a tornado warning.
That low-level shear at the surface. Do you think that's what's playing out, and at times it'll hit a spot where there is enough of that, and then you'll kind of get this quick, lowering that ends up happening?
Yeah, if you don't have that low-level shear, it makes these things hard to spin up. It seems more like a cell merging has been the trigger for them today. Except for that storm that first started by Amarillo, that thing looked like it produced a nice stovepipe right off the bat. But we're getting closer now where that low-level jet will come in and help these things at the surface get going. So, as long as you stay discreet-ish within the next hour, the slow storm motion, too, kind of has me thinking it might be something like Oklahoma had last night, where had that deviant motion where this tornado just kept, looping.
Real quickly, before we leave you, Corey, can we talk about that? I think that was so impressive to see on radar, southwestern Oklahoma, where you had that anticyclonic rotation there. And not only that, but it was so erratic, right? In its movement. Thankfully, it was over a rural area, but it just kind of stalled out. And it looked like when you had this on velocity couplet and you're looking at that vorticity and that rotation, it just jumped off the charts. Can you speak to more of what that means when you're looking at not only anticyclonic, but that deviant motion where it's unpredictable?
Yeah, I didn't get to watch the radar too much yesterday, but it seemed like the classic very slow storm motion. And then you had several cells that seemed like they just kept colliding, which then triggered that circulation to just kind of pretty much just bounce around. Not the best way to describe it.
There is one new severe thunderstorm warning for Texas.
Moving. And man, it looks like we're getting another big lowering here. But something I definitely have to watch out for peak season too is that deviant storm motion on these things.
To the extent we can.
All right, you're listening in here to this update out of Mount Horeb, Wisconsin here, as they were talking about the middle school lockdown earlier today for several hours amid an active shooter threat. Police have said that the threat has since been neutralized as officers comb through the school, but the entire school district going into lockdown around 11:15 this morning. School officials also said that the suspect did not breach the entryway, and there are no reports of anyone being harmed aside from the alleged suspect here. So obviously a very terrifying day for the school district, for families and those children who were inside the middle school. We're going to go out to another quick commercial break. Still much more to bring to you here on this very busy Wednesday. We'll be back right after this.
primed, can definitely see it lasting a few hours another night at least.
Yeah, concerns, as you had mentioned, sulfur. We have our own Max Gordon there today talking with, so many residents. That came in at like 10:20 p.m. on Saturday night. So concerns that you can still have that type of intensity, an EF3 high end, even that late into the evening time. Corey, thank you for talking with us and continuing this chase. I want to check in with your teammate. We're going to talk to the whole squad here. I want to look at Vince's shot. He's racing. He's outside of Perryton now, and he's on this other warned storm. Thank you for this is a tornado with us and continuing this chase. I want to check in with your teammate. We're going to talk to the whole squad here. I want to look at Vince's shot. He's racing. He's outside of Perryton now, and he's on this other warned storm. This is a tornado warning. Vince, I'd like to talk to you. I've talked to both of your comrades here, Corey and Brandon, and this has been truly an impressive event. Your shot is compelling because you look at one half of your screen, it's uninhibited sunlight, blue skies, and then the darkness that ensues. But can you talk about how there's still plenty of intensity and instability in those storms off to your right?
Yeah, Steve, I've actually left that old tornado warned storm that's now just severe warned. We're headed toward this one that's possibly producing a tornado soon over Spearman. Looked like it may have a lowering or maybe even had a funnel in there, but these storms off to the west are undergoing these mergers. And today, I think Corey just said these storms have to do a lot with mergers, just kind of really enhancing those updrafts and getting them to really rotate. So that's what's catching my eye with these. These are in kind of that untapped air. It hasn't really been, outrunning the primed environment here as much as that other one is. And just beautiful sculpted supercell. That sun is kind of inhibiting our view of it, but
there is one new severe thunderstorm warning for Texas.
This is an absolute unit of a storm, so expectations are kind of high with this one.
Vince, yeah, I'm looking at the velocity couplet here over Spearman, and it jumps off the chart. Team, if we can real quickly jump into that. Vince, thank you for that update and visual. Continue to use that. Looking at this here on radar, notice that we have one indication, wind estimates at 70 miles per hour. That's going to be rotating away from the radar. And then we have another couplet coming in at 20. And you'll look at that as 90 mile per hour. There is that difference. So you're looking at gate to gate shear, no gap in between. You have that dark purple. Notice when you find it on the legend, that's a stronger indication away than it would be with the deep red. And then we've had the rotation showing a high-end pulsing mechanism at time. You heard Vince say that it was rotating at times as well, and it looked like there could have been a lowering. So we're going to keep watching what's happening in Texas very closely as these storms continue to enhance. Well, the very latest, look at our team. They're all over these warned storms from Kansas into Texas. We'll bring you the latest as we return live here on Fox Weather Live.
There are 2 new warnings affecting Texas.
As the driver was actually still inside. So what was it like for the driver inside that vehicle and the family that was rushing outside? Well, let's ask Jamin and Jalen Dotson. They join us now to walk us through those intense moments during that storm. This was, again, very frightening yesterday in Kansas. Jamin, walk us through what you were thinking, right? During this process, when you first heard the tree crash, did you know that your brother Jalen was actually still inside the car?
I actually wasn't sure if he was still parked in the driveway or not. He had just dropped me off, and I heard it, and then he hit the horn and just held on the horn because he wasn't sure what to do. And the first thought that went in my head was it hit him and he's up against the steering wheel or something and hitting the horn. I rushed out as fast as I could. I'm the big guy in the red there. Went straight to the driver door, was checking on him, trying to see if I could get to him. It was pinned on that side, so I went around to the other side after this video and jumped in and helped him pull away from the tree. But
yeah, when you're looking at this here, it's a big tree. It's right on the driver's side where Jalen's at. Jalen, you were actually in the car when that tree fell, of course. What was going through your mind when all this began? And tell us about what happened next, how they were able to get you out.
I was just shocked. I wasn't really sure what was happening. I was actually on my phone sending an email, and out of nowhere, the weather just, everything started shaking, and then it started raining real hard, and then maybe 5 seconds later, the tree started coming down, and I felt like I was going to die.
It's terrifying.
I didn't know what to do.
Right? It happened so suddenly. This is actually not a tornadic event. This is a different weather phenomenon, a microburst. And want to show everybody at home how dangerous and deadly these type of events can be. This is a downburst of wind that comes from a very energized and unstable thunderstorm. And so that can actually get
There
up
is
to
one new
100
severe
miles per
thunderstorm
hour
warning
or
for
even
Texas.
higher. And it creates that extensive damage. Of course, you think about a major tree like that, it becomes a sail and it comes crashing down. Now, you said the city of Wellington was able to help get that tree off the road quickly. Was there any other damage that you saw in the neighborhood? And how are you both doing after that? I imagine the adrenaline's rushing. You don't know what's happened to your brother. And then when it all settles in, you start to realize what took place. Kind of talk to us about what Wellington looks like and how you both are doing now.
It kind of seemed like it was isolated to kind of our neighborhood. There was a few branches down in some blocks around us, but the officers showed up shortly after the city, and they were saying that this was definitely the biggest one that fell, that it seemed to be right on top of us.
Yeah. This looks powerful when you're looking at these pictures here. I'm so glad Jamin and Jalen, you both are okay. That's got to be frightening, witnessing that firsthand, hearing that metal and then the tree collapsing on top. So thankful you're both okay and you're able to join us here on Fox Weather. Both of you, again, stay safe out there. More storms are coming out tonight. Here on Fox Weather, we're going to track those storms. Stay with us.
Stop everything you're doing right now.
What does it take to get your best night's sleep? Start with sheets so soft they transport you. At Boll & Branch, we use the rarest cotton on earth and a transformative weave that unlocks new levels of softness wash after wash. So this sheet starts out soft and gets even better with time. 96% of customers agree Boll & Branch sheets get softer with every wash. Feel the difference and sleep better at night with Boll & Branch.
There is one new tornado warning for Kansas.
He thinks his flaky red patches are all people see.
Otezla is the #1 prescribed pill to treat plaque psoriasis. Otezla can help you get clearer skin. Don't use Otezla if you're allergic to it. Serious allergic reactions can happen. Otezla may cause severe diarrhea, nausea, or vomiting. Some people taking Otezla had depression, suicidal thoughts, or weight loss. Upper respiratory.
There is a storm coming, an event like the world has never seen before. The emerging event will have little to do with weather, but more about developing situations that were foreseen many years ago. We have always warned you during severe weather and news events that affected many. Now, Channel 1 Atlanta begins a new series to warn you about what's coming soon and make sure you are prepared. Join us on a new journey, as according to a recent survey, a lot of people believe we are living in the last days. Current news events show us now more than ever. In history, time is setting the stage for the coming storm. A new series, now playing only on Channel 1 Atlanta.
Our students on our campus, and this is not my job. This should not have happened to our students, and this is a failure of our institution, and we need to put a stop to it today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Barat?
Hi everybody, thank you so much for coming out today. My name is Bharat Venkat. I'm an associate professor here across the life and social sciences. Last night around 11:30, I made a cup of tea and got ready to go to bed. That was already late enough for me. And then I walked into the kitchen and my husband has Instagram Live on and I'm hearing fireworks and I'm wondering what's going on here, and he shows me and it's a live stream of what's happening right behind us. Fireworks being launched into the encampment, students being sprayed with mace, which you've already heard. I happen to live on campus, so I walked over here. And what I saw was, it was brutal. Coming into the encampment, what I see is students, line after line of students being sprayed with mace, lying on the ground, having to have their eyes irrigated, having their faces, their skin entirely inflamed because they're being attacked, right? So you have this kind of coalition of, a very diverse coalition of folks who've come here to attack our students. It is only by the grace of God that
There is one new severe thunderstorm warning for
I
Colorado.
have never seen anything like this in my entire life. And I worried for my students' safety. I worried for my safety, the safety of my colleagues, staff. I was maced a couple of times yesterday as well. In addition to that, there was the use of strobe lights to blind students. There was the use of large projectiles that were tossed into the encampment, hitting students from above. There were students, just a range of it felt.
This is a tornado warning.
You see students lying on the ground, right? And they just keep coming in. And you see students yelling for a medic. And there are no medics other than other students there to take care of them. And they're just screaming as people try to pour saline or water into the eyes. They're screaming, they're crying, they're having a difficult time breathing. This shouldn't be happening anywhere, and this shouldn't be happening here at UCLA. I just want to reiterate, this is an incredible failure of leadership. This is not what we should stand for. This is not what education should look like. This is not what this world should look like. And I'm here as a faculty member to support our students and to say, like, this has to stop. And I hope our leadership takes seriously what the students are asking of them. We are living in a world rife with violence, and I'm saddened that we've decided that this campus is also going to be a place of violence, and I hope that can change. Thank you.
All right, so again, another look there at faculty speaking about some of these violent protests that happened on UCLA's campus yesterday. Well, we are just past 8 o'clock Eastern now. Thanks so much for tuning in with us here at Live Now from Fox. I'm Lexi Petrovich. Well, we want to continue our coverage right now of these protests. And this is a topic that we've been talking about now, not only just yesterday, but even last week as well. And many of you may have joined us for this segment just 24 hours ago. However, it was a much different story as we bring you continuing coverage on the college protests that are erupting across the nation. Carlos Sanchez, who's a photographer for our partner station, Fox 7 Austin, has been charged again by Texas authorities. They claim he can be seen moving towards a DPS trooper, then lunging and striking the trooper with his camera in the lower head and neck area. We should note that the initial charges against Sanchez were dropped just yesterday. For more on this developing story, we're being joined by Ashanti Blaze Hopkins, the president of the Society of Professional Journalists. She joins us live now. Ashanti, it's great to have you on here again. And here we are talking about this very same topic. However, 24 hours ago, it was a much different story. What is your reaction to this news today?
Well, you know, I think it's been kind of a roller coaster really since last week. Initially, he was charged with criminal trespass and arrested, taken to jail, spent a night in jail, was released, charges dropped. Then the felony charges were charged against him, and those were dropped. And now we're looking at 2 misdemeanor charges. And I think at this point, I think it's very clear that this is a retaliation. This is intimidation. This is meant to chill and have a chilling effect for other journalists who are going to be covering this highly publicized event across the country, especially in the state of Texas. And I can't see it to be anything other than that. When they didn't have what they needed for the felony charges to go forward, they had to lower it and go after this photographer again. And I just can't see the purpose of it other than to be vindictive.
Yeah, so again, Sanchez was charged with 2 misdemeanors, assault and interference with public duties, and now we're looking at these charges as you just mentioned there. Meanwhile, Texas DPS is also quoted as saying, while journalists should be provided access, it's never...
This is a tornado warning.
That will never be tolerated, unquote. Is that what you think happened here?
Absolutely not. I think if you look at the video, I think it's clear that this photographer was holding on to his commercial grade camera. And I don't know if many of you out there have ever held one of those cameras. I have. I was a television news. News reporter for 12 years and was side by side with a television photojournalist. Those things weigh 15 pounds at least. So when you're carrying them around, they're on your shoulder. You have your. He did not intentionally hit anyone. Into the crowd. Like I said, that camera is 15 pounds. It doesn't take much to jostle someone and have them fall forward.
Yeah, those cameras.
The best people, right? They come to you and they don't care what your assignment is. They say, hey, you deserve a warm meal too, and how incredible you are. And you're just thinking, look, I just feel for so many that are there going through their worst moments in their life, and yet they're thinking about me. How remarkable are so much of humanity, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And especially when you go to a small town like this here in Sulphur, Oklahoma, everybody knows everybody. And that's why the loss of life has been so devastating for people here too. One person died in this tornado here in Sulphur, one of 4 deaths in Oklahoma. And everybody's connected here. And so that has an incredible ripple effect through the community. But that also means that people are just raring to go to help one another. You know, you got people picking up chainsaws, other tools, getting their skid steers, other equipment just in town, ready to help one another. And really, that, again, is the silver lining of all this.
And Max, if you can ask Lloyd real quickly, on your right side, that other side of the intersection, I noticed this before, the stop sign, there's that metal that's twisted around that tree. I think that speaks to the tornadoes, right? You've talked about the entire town, but we show the winds, right? And you can point that out. That is alarming how it just is like a ribbon around it.
Well, you see this sheet metal right here that's wrapped around this tree right here, and it looks like, you know, a ribbon, but this, you know, you can't move it. And then if you look deeper on into the wreckage here, you can see this was a light pole. And it's just bent over like that, you know, at the base. Really, that just shows you the power of this wind. Yeah, you've got metal that essentially has been, look at that. That's wild, you know, just bent on over, toppled on over as if it was a child's toy or something like that, like a Lego piece or something. Yeah, you know, really, events like this, they both make you appreciate the best of humanity and also the power of Mother Nature.
Right? The respect on either side for one another and what Mother Nature can do, and more concerns, Max, of what the storms could be like tonight and in the days to come. We already see the gray sky starting to fill in behind you, Max. Thank you for sharing those stories and connecting with those people in Sulphur. They need that, right? They need that sense of normalcy, that conversation, that love between one another. Max Gordon, thank you for that. Let's talk about the storms, right, that continue. This is severe season. We are entering peak severe season. And so this isn't going anywhere, right? We got Sam here with me. She's tracking these storms, and we've talked about how volatile this environment is, and this Fox alert system just does not stop churning out the new warnings. Notice a new threat is starting to emerge, and we'll see this because of the consecutive nature of these storms. Flash flood warnings now continue for portions of Texas. We still have an active tornado warning that's happening there in Kansas. And then we have Vince's shot here. Vince Welty, he was on that confirmed tornado in Spearman, Texas. And what you're looking at is the angry skies, the underside, the belly of the beast at times. You'll talk about it with the dark gray showing you that any moment they're going to wring out the towel and there'll be this deluge of rain. But somewhere in there could be that possible rotation that spawns that tornado and allows. And that's not something that we're using as hyperbole. Look at what it's been like so far. So there's the Fox alert system. Here's the tornado tally that's been going on out of the event from Friday through Sunday. You're looking at 124 confirmed tornadoes. Survey is still ongoing. This is where Max is at, southern Oklahoma, the Red River region, and there's Sulphur. He had a high EF3, high end. 165 miles per hour, not too far from them. Marietta, Oklahoma, the only one in the country that have an EF4 tornado so far in 2024. Speaks to the volatility of this environment. Look at this. These are those same areas that have that 3 out of 5 risk tonight. It bleeds into a 2 out of 5, into the lingering hours, the waning hours of Wednesday, early Thursday, and we revisit this yet again tomorrow. By the way, if you've been joining us here on Fox Weather throughout the day, it's kind of enhanced, right?
There is one new severe thunderstorm warning for Texas.
Flare up by Friday. Hopefully a reprieve from all of this on the southern edge. This is more where we see Brendan Kopic right now towards Dodge City and Hayes. So let's push it forward. Let's flick it forward and show you that the other threat with all of this is look at how much red emerges. That shows you the Gulf moisture this is tapping into. And so this area has already seen over 10 inches of rain in Texas, 10 inches of rain in
There is
Kansas,
one new severe
and 8
thunderstorm
inches of rain
warning
in
for
Oklahoma.
Texas.
That happened over the weekend. That ground is still waterlogged. We've seen that throughout all of our live visuals. This continues to move in over the Lone Star State and throughout the South and into the Midwest. Look at these spots that are in orange. It's almost inevitable at this point to be considering that flash flooding. But that's not the only type of flood threat. Then you have areas down here. Remember, the Red River is right here, Oklahoma border, then goes to Louisiana border. But a lot of this water drains south. And so areas like the Trinity River, that's a little further into East Texas and further south, those rivers absorb all of this and they slowly start to rise. And many of them can get to major flood stage by the time we get towards the latter half of the week into the weekend. Quite active, right? And we'll show you where we stand as of right now. That was looking ahead of what awaits. In the present moment where we are right now, you're looking at active warnings, 24 of them. Throughout the week, we've already seen 300 severe thunderstorm warnings, over 70 tornado warnings, over 50 flash flood warnings. Look at what it is like outside right now. Brendan Kopic is in Kansas and West Kansas. And you look at Kansas City, right, in eastern Kansas. Either way, the storms just keep coming. We'll talk about the evolution and the progression of these storms when Fox Weather Live returns.
There is one new tornado warning for Texas.
For some of these events in San Francisco and City Hall, let's play out a little bit more reaction from people in attendance.
It's a day for us to emphasize that this country, the Bay Area, everything runs only through the efforts and all of the work of the workers. That includes immigrant workers, that includes undocumented workers, and that includes all of us as city workers.
All right, so a look there at more of that video from the Bay Area today. We're also checking in with our team in Southern California following some of those violent protests yesterday on UCLA's campus. Let's take you out to some of their coverage here from the top of the hour.
Lined up in the middle of the UCLA campus. It is the largest law enforcement presence since that encampment protest began. Comes after those violent clashes between protesters and counter-protesters that prompted the university to cancel all classes. That was last night we saw that violent scene, right? All right, welcome to the Fox 11 News at 5, now simulcast on our sister station, Fox 11 Plus. I'm Christine Devine.
And I'm Alex Michelson. We have live team coverage tonight. Fox 11's Matthew Seedorf has the response to the clashes from protesters.
And here soon it tells us how this is all affecting students and faculty. We begin with Fox 11's Matthew Seedorf.
Christine, Alex, what a difference a day will make. There is tons of law enforcement here. In fact, right now, certain people aren't allowed beyond where we're standing right now unless they have media credentials. And then we're already seeing these long lines of police cars. This is the California Highway Patrol. We also just got a statement from the UC president that says the chancellor here will dismantle it at any appropriate time, that meaning the camp-in. But right now, it continues.
There is one new severe thunderstorm warning for
Palestinian
Kansas.
Demonstrators Wednesday at UCLA, possibly preparing for more conflict. Is that a shield?
I mean, you know, we're not going to answer any questions.
Umbrellas and helmets being carried into their camp.
This is a tornado warning.
Welcome back. This is a Fox Weather Alert. This is from Clarendon, Texas, where I think they're trying to clean the camera lens real quickly. This is KWTV and KOTV showing you those potent storms that are moving through the panhandle. But notice that you have the irrigation system over the farmland, which normally would dump water, and they have that shut off, right? They got an excess amount of water. Then you see almost the brush strokes behind that. That's that rain.
There is one new severe thunderstorm warning for Texas.
The sunshine, right? The crepuscular rays punching through the clouds, the sunbeams still hitting the surface, all beautiful, but at times can be turbulent and violent, right? That's why you got to watch it. It can be beautiful in a moment, and before you know it, it enhances and creates another severe storm. So here's where we're taking a broad view from Kansas to northern Texas, all the way down towards Lubbock and over the Permian Basin. There's Spearman, Texas, where we have Vince Welty with a live look. We'll do some radar on this real quickly, and then we'll talk with Vince about what he's witnessing there. Quick update, by the way, this was a confirmed tornado before. Now it's been just dialed back to a tornado warning. Still something to take seriously. Looking at this as also a major hail maker, where you're looking at baseball-sized hail, at least in this system. When you get to the rotation, it looks a little less tight. Looks more broad rotation. That large hail was just to the north east of Spearman before. This live vantage point is impressive. You look at the ripples on the underside of these thunderstorms. Hey, Vince, this is Steve. I want to check in with you real quickly. An impressive storm that you've been chasing for quite a while. Not too long ago, this was a confirmed tornado, but I'll be honest with you, when I was looking at your cameras, it was impressive, but I couldn't see the tornadic conditions, right? It just shows you how blinding that rain was. Love to get your insight as you kind of are chasing this, what you saw out of this, and why this was a confirmed tornado. Trying to check in with Vince Welty real quickly, see if we can talk to him again. Hey, Vince, this is Steve. Just want to check in with you. We've been on this storm for a while. It was confirmed tornado before, and when we looked at your vantage point, it was really tough to distinguish anything because of the intensity of the rain. I want to get your insight on why they were able to go confirmed with that warning.
Sorry, Steve, data zone here is kind of killing us a bit, but I'm not sure. I think they want law enforcement confirmed. I do not have a tornado on the ground right now, but we got a very stout looking wall cloud right now just east of Spearman. Looks like it could produce, but I think it's going to be a little while before it does.
May take a while to produce some of the tornadic conditions, but it's been producing large hail makers. I mean, this thing is already warned for baseball-sized hail. I got to ask you, Vince, I mean, your partners have been going through it. Corey's been going through 3-inch hail. We witnessed Brandon Kopic, who could barely hear me because he was getting pelted by baseball-sized hail. How has your journey been so far in regards to hail? Have you been caught in any of that yet?
Not yet. I've been able to avoid it pretty well out here. the road network out here is a lot of mud roads, but as long as they're not too wet, it's pretty forgiving. But one thing we will learn, and I learned it just as easily as you guys will, if there's one thing that Brandon Kopic's windshields love, is it's hail. So if there's hail, I promise you he will find it. That is a guarantee.
I feel like that's some storm chaser trash talk right now. I love it, by the way. Yeah, he's like a magnet for that hail maker. Vince, I do want to ask about something you just touched upon, the mud roads. I could tell that when you were driving there, these country roads, there's a lot of puddles, there's a lot of saturation. That's kind of a undertone risk throughout these consecutive storms, just dumping so much rain on these areas of Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas.
Yeah, and you've really got to slow down out here. Most of the locals are pretty aware of that, though. A lot of these locals will not touch these dirt roads after a rainstorm, but
there is one new tornado warning for Colorado.
It's that top 2-inch layer of dirt that just turns to mud. It's almost the consistency of like toothpaste or syrup. It's pretty terrible. I would almost rather drive on ice than that stuff. So you really got to be careful out here.
Wow, that is saying something, right? Yeah, I've known the ice storms are brutal. Yeah, you're zooming in on that. Is that debris or is that somebody's drone that they just kind of lofted up there? Or is that a bug? No, that's a bug on your camera? Yeah.
Good question. I will investigate. That is definitely, I don't see a drone. It probably is a bug. That's been a problem. Apparently it's bug season out here.
There is one new tornado warning for Kansas.
A hidden difficulty with this job.
I'm throwing you some curveballs now, Vince. You're handling them well. Sorry, I'm just seeing stuff pop up on your screen so quickly, and I was trying to figure out if that was just like a trash bag that was getting lofted in the wind or somebody throwing up a drone. But yeah, like you said, bug season. It's muddy. It's also humid out there. We'll continue to watch your shot. Vince, it's been a pleasure talking to you this evening. Keep up the good chase there as we watch those storms fire up in Texas. Let's talk about what's happening north of
I
Vince.
do indeed like hail. Beep.
Here, Brendan. There's Brendan. He's leaning into it. He said, I do like some hail. Yeah, talk to us about that, Brendan. I need to get your insight. Vince felt like he was talking a little bit of trash there, saying that you're kind of a hail magnet there. Of course, this would be the time.
I go through so much equipment because I core punch these storms. I don't know. I like to enjoy every aspect of it, without a doubt.
I tell you what, Brendan, we like that you enjoy it because I tell you what, when we were talking about 30, 40 minutes ago, I felt like my heart was racing. I felt like I was in a movie because every other word you're like, whoa, like the baseball-sized hail. And we looked at your live point, everything was shaking, right? It looked like, you were at
there is one new severe thunderstorm warning for Texas.
With that hail, can you talk to us about what's evolved since then? Your storm has been warned at times, tornado warnings. And I'm looking at your vantage point. It looks like you got some big skies out there, but I'm not seeing anything lowering just yet.
Hey, New York. Brandon just got a hold of me on the other radio. He actually just lost connection on here, so hopefully he'll be back here shortly. He wanted me to let you know that, so you didn't think that he totally forgot about you there. But he does send his condolences for his windshield.
Thank you, Vince. Incredible the team that we have here, and they got each other's back there, and so we got to work.
There are two new warnings affecting Kansas and Texas.
Windshield at times, so that way he can keep punching these storms. He's going in at them full throttle, and we appreciate it. This is his live vantage point. Of course, you've heard at times Vince has acknowledged this, Corey and Brandon, where they get to these dead zones in cellular service. This is very rural areas. Right now, we do have that hail that we've been addressing with Brandon Kopic, right? And we'd be remiss if we didn't just show you what we're talking about since you've been joining us. So let's bring it up. Let's talk about that hail. And team, do we have the sound that accompanies this? You see the shatter on the windshield there. No sound. And it's probably a good thing because you wouldn't be able to hear anything else. And that's saying a lot with me yelling. I know at home, I've heard your complaints. I know I talk loud. I'm just passionate. I'm telling you. So looking at this right now, this is what I was talking about when it looked like he's going to the driving range, but he's no longer at the tee box. He's out on the range. It just seems like everybody's just hitting the balls at him, and he's taking it in stride. This is what's been happening throughout the evening.
There is one new severe thunderstorm warning for Texas.
Brutal. Not only for Brandon, but Corey's been trying to dodge this as well. Let's bring in Corey Gherkin. Corey is in Turkey, Texas, where you've had some large hail makers. Kind of talk about the dynamics, Corey, that you've been on and chasing and trying to avoid those nasty hail makers. Trying to get in with Corey here. Hey, Corey, we've been talking about the hail so far this evening. I know yours was warned before for 3-inch in diameter hail, been major hail makers outside of Turkey, Texas. Can you kind of walk us through what you've seen there through the evening time?
So far I've been trying to avoid the hail. It seems like it's calmed down a little bit.
This is a tornado warning.
About these storms doing what they did in Oklahoma yesterday, whereas get these rotations that just start going in all directions. It looks like that is definitely what's happening down here. So at this point, with the bad road networks, I'm kind of hoping the storm just dies out.
And not too far from you, Corey, we've seen that vertical build, right? I mean, you're witnessing it too, of course. We were looking at Clarendon, Texas, and it almost looked like a stack of dinner plates, right? Where you just keep seeing them build on top of each other. Kind of want to see from your vantage point, do you have any kind of estimate of how
there is one new severe thunderstorm warning for Texas?
Feet. You think that's consistent with those storms that you're chasing?
Yeah, the last time I looked, it was a little while ago, but I was about 54,000 feet. So these are some big storms out here right now.
And you're looking at, with big storms, the potential of major instability in all modes of concern. Corey, I want to talk to you about the road you're on. I know it's a limited road network, but it looks like at least you got a little bit of asphalt, but it's covered in that rain, of course. How difficult has this chase been just because of how waterlogged this entire region is?
So far, it hasn't been too bad. We haven't gotten.
You can hear at times where we lose Corey's audio, and then you'll hear it speed up all of a sudden. I really think he's in this dead zone with the cell service, and then the data reboots itself, recoups, and then it'll kind of all come in at once, right? So the team, it doesn't matter where the storms are at, they're going to be there. And they're chasing too. So we'll leave Corey. We'll let him continue on. Hey, Corey, if you can hear me, thank you for the hard work. The entire team doing a great job as always. We're going to track these storms here on radar and show you some of these spots. Here's another spot from Vince Welty in Perryton, Texas. Again, you have the irrigation system, the sprinklers over the farmland there, and then those are shut off. They might not have to turn those on for a while because these storms have delivered a heavenly amount of rain, maybe a little bit too much at times, where there's been a surplus of that where it's just waterlogged. So for Corey and for what we've seen with Vince, these are the two locations. There's Vince. He's up on that tornado warned one. And this is what Corey's been tracking right here. He's in Childress, that area, really flaring up in the panhandle of Texas. And here's the reports that we've gotten over the past 6 hours. Clarendon, a very brief tornado. By the way, we've been saying Clarendon a whole lot throughout this entire show, over 2.5 hours. So it means there's not much movement with these storms. They're kind of stalled out. Wow, look at Vince's shot, by the way. You saw Vince kind of walk back. He set up a camera network. But you see that kind of like spout off on the edge, right? You have the potent storms, and then you have this just, I don't know, maybe it's just the sun angle, but it looks like a burst of rain that's coming down. I do want to show you on radar the first tornado warning in eastern Colorado. That's how far this stretches out, right? We've been talking a whole lot about Kansas, a whole lot about Oklahoma and Texas, rightfully so. Now we have to incorporate a fourth state and talk about what's happening there in Colorado. Now, this is a very rural area. This is the Palmer Divide. Because of the surface winds, you always have this kind of low-level shear that's present, and you get land spouts. Oftentimes, you get significant land spouts that are out there because you have so much low-level shear. Really, what you're just waiting for is that mid-level shear to connect. Here's the broad view. I mean, the whole entire Lone Star State is starting to see these storms kind of pop up. This is something to watch for, by the way. You have out towards Waco or the I-45 corridor. actually, just so it's actually to the east of Waco, this line of storms that's just entrenched there. I mean, it's overlapping this entire interstate from Huntsville all the way up to Personville. So this is a concern just because you're going to just have a waterlogged area. So I just advanced forward right before Sam could actually bring up all of that rain that was coming down out of this event. So zoom back in on that, how much rain is coming in out of this system for those areas. And there's a biggest flood threat is in that area, Sam confirming. It looked like there was a spot where they already had a half foot of rain. Look at this, though. We had those watches that go all the way to midnight for Kansas for tornadoes. And then we have severe thunderstorm warning just south of there.
There is one new severe thunderstorm warning for Texas.
A lot of those have progressed towards the east. So looking at this here, we do have some major concerns about what is unfolding as these storms just continue trying to load up what we can see here next. So what we have is plenty of active weather that's expected to continue. And you'll notice this brings us to tonight. We talked a whole lot about tornadoes and them popping up and the ebb and flow. Today is May 1st. But let's talk about April, right? The entire month so far, because surveys are still coming in, still getting those confirmations, 280 tornadoes confirmed. Second all time historically for an April month. Obviously, 2011. I don't know if that record will ever be broken. This is almost a third of what that was. But that doesn't lead to saying, oh, this season wasn't that robust. It just shows you how fast things can enhance, because there's truly states like Iowa, Ohio, Nebraska, outside of Tornado Alley that really felt the brunt of these storms throughout the month of April. And May doesn't look any different. Actually, now May is the peak of tornado season. We'll have more on these storms tonight and what's expected in the days to come when Fox Weather Live returns. Stay with us.
Helping families with mesothelioma is all we do. Our firm has been offering a free book on mesothelioma for over 10 years. Since that time, thousands with mesothelioma have trusted us to represent them against those responsible. We have local offices throughout the U.S. Mesothelioma really is all we do, and there is no risk to you. Let us put a plan in place for you and your family. Call now.
Call us at 800-260-0800 or go to mesolaw.com.
I got the groceries.
You were just supposed to get diapers.
Couldn't find them.
Well, you found your favorite cereal. Go back.
Can't. We're kind of broke until payday.
Well, diapers kind of can't wait. I'm getting the Empower app. Empower Cash Advance gives me up to $250 instantly. No late fees, interest, or credit checks.
Hurry back.
No guarantees. Diapers are so hard to find.
Get Empower Cash Advance from $10 to $250 instantly. Download the Empower app today.
Are you over 50? Would you like to get up to 33% more income in retirement? Then call now and get this free book, Annuity Do's and Don'ts for Baby Boomers, from a leading financial firm on maximizing your income in retirement. This book reveals little-known secrets about annuity strategies in simple-to-understand terms that can help you make the right choices before buying an annuity. And if you call right right now, as a bonus, we'll throw in a free annuity rate report. We've researched over 1,200 annuities summarizing the rates and benefits for you. So don't miss out on this opportunity because supplies are limited. Call now and find out.
There is one new severe thunderstorm warning for Colorado.
In your retirement, and you'll receive annuity do's and don'ts for baby boomers and the annuity rate report as an added bonus. Both books are yours free, just for calling Annuity General today.
Call 800-257-3901. That's 800-257-3901. Again, 800-257-3901.
Welcome back, and thank you for joining us here on Fox Weather Live. I'm Steve Bender, and we're talking about those severe storms that keep hitting America's heartland. And it looks like this, where so many communities are trying to recover. But sadly, more and more storms keep impacting, and families, they've lost everything. People have died, and there's been hundreds of injuries because of these severe storms.
And then I was like, my brother, he was right behind me. He's gone. And I just started screaming for his name. And like the way I was screaming will never leave my head, I don't think.
That's Royce who was talking, and his brother Rogers. By the way, Royce just got back home from deployment. This was a special moment for those brothers to finally see each other. And then this violent storm almost took everything from them. They thankfully have each other, right? It's not been the case, though, for all these stories. Since Thursday, 6 people have died. It was the second most active April on record for tornadoes. There was a staggering 323 reports of tornadoes last month alone. More than a third of those hit between last Friday and Sunday. This is very raw. This is still very recent for many. When you look at these visuals, this debris is still present. And now we have more storms that are pushing in over these areas right now. So let's talk about what's happened today, what's happening now, and then obviously talk about what awaits ahead as we get in towards the weekend and, the severe season. We're right in the peak of it right now as we enter into May. This is Dighton, Kansas. Now we take you to Turkey, Texas. There's Corey Gerken, and look at his cameras, moving a lot. There's the wind impact. Notice how wet the road is. Been very heavy rain consecutively for days, if not weeks now. Lightning has been pulsing in the sky. All of these are signs that we have volatile weather. And then we'll take you to the final team member, right? Got 3 people that are out in the storms right now. Our exclusive Fox Weather Storm Trackers. The last one is Vince Welty, and he's showing us.
There is one new severe thunderstorm warning for Colorado.
Going back around, showing us the storms and the rain that's coming down over the farmland in the northern Texas. And then the final shot comes to us live from KWTV and KOTV, and it shows you there's actually kind of a wall cloud that is forming. So, right, you have the thunderstorms. That's the underside, and then there's a little notch that comes underneath that. It's a wall. That's why it's indicative of a wall cloud, and oftentimes those can spawn and produce tornadic conditions. So we'll watch that. Total warnings right now, 24 of them. 3 of them are tornado warnings. We do have 157,000 people underneath those warnings. The concern ahead, though, over 10 million people with the risk tonight. Let's take you to some of the top reports today, though. We haven't had a chance to do this because it's been so active. Lubbock, Texas, almost hurricane force winds, 73-mile-per-hour winds. Clarendon with softball-sized hail. That just shows you everything with severe concerns has been on the table and has been produced already today, and concerns that it could happen even more. Here's the active tornado warnings. This is where Vince is at. This is where Brandon's at. That's eastern Colorado, likely probably a land spout that they're picking up over the Palmer Divide. So we're showing you those 2 warnings right now. This one that's just south of I-70 looks a whole lot more potent. That's where we have Brandon Kopic. Look at the electricity that's embedded in that. This is radar indicated, and a potential land spout there. Let's zoom in on Brandon's shot here, showing you towards Jerome. Let's see if we can't talk to Brandon. This has been spotty at times, so we'll see. Hey, Brandon, this is Steve. Just want to check in with you, see if you can hear me. And it looks very impressive what you're seeing off there in the distance. And you are in a tornado warning. What do you see out of that storm system? As we had said, it's difficult at times to get to Brandon.
Were you trying to get a hold of me?
Hey, Brandon, yeah, this is Steve. I was just trying to get a hold of you. It looks like on radar, a significant velocity couplet on yours. It looks impressive. What are you witnessing there in Dighton, Kansas?
Well, it looks like this thing tried to develop a wall cloud, but quickly got wrapped in rain. Ooh, that was close. Yeah, overall, it looks like a very healthy storm. A lot of warm, moist inflow going into it.
And it says producing a wall cloud. We have seen that, and it even looks like the outflowing winds out of that are really impressive, right? We're looking at least on the velocity couplet, that signature looks quite strong. You've been on this storm for quite a while. Can you kind of walk us through what you have seen so far in western Kansas?
Yeah, it definitely is a fairly impressive storm. I mean, we're just going to have to see how it develops over the coming hours. The RFD seems to be surging out. It's really just trying to figure out its areas of rotation right now. Just really waiting to see how this storm is going to intensify and really take advantage of the ample environment right now.
On radar, we're getting the estimated wind speeds. It looks like the vorticity or the differential is about 85 miles per hour, but it does look like there's a 70 mile per hour outflowing wind, as you were talking about. So this is a very impressive. Wow, look at that lightning. That is just wild to see, Brandon, how much lightning and how it's on the leading edge of this storm.
Yeah, we're actually out in front of the Hook Echo region. What you're seeing from the rain shaft is actually the Hook. So we're just wondering if it's going to be a heavily rain-wrapped tornado, and that's what it looks like if it does produce one.
Yeah, on radar, Brennan, you can tell that this is rain-wrapped, but there's a giant gap in the middle of that on radar. Now it just tightened up on the last scan, which would be an indication that there could be something forming in the middle of that, like you were saying. Either way, this thing has everything, packed into it right now. We've already seen the large hail from your vantage point. I don't know, team, if we can get that up.
There is one new severe thunderstorm warning for Colorado and Kansas and Nebraska.
I mean, Brandon, it kind of felt like you were, there at the golf range, except you weren't at the tee box. It was you were out and everybody was taking aim at you.
Yeah, I mean, you get that. Try and get up in the cores of these main storms. Honestly, I just can't get over how beautiful this storm is, and it's still got very healthy influence. But the northernmost storm we were on earlier was absolutely gorgeous. Had some giant hail. It was upwards of baseball when we went through it. Definitely destroyed my rain guards on my window. But, it's one of those things that you just kind of get yourself into while doing this.
We just bringing up this video right now, the windshield cracking yet again as this hail comes down. And this was earlier when you were telling us it was tennis ball, and then you're like, no, it's got to be baseball size. This just keeps coming down, and it shows you how volatile this environment is. And notice Brendan in this vantage point only has about 200-300 feet of visibility in front of him at best, by the way. And then it's, he's almost coming to a complete stop because of how vicious this storm is. Now, if we bring it back up live, yeah, Brendan, I think it's impressive as you were talking about when you're looking at this thing and the leading edge of that, right where that lightning strike was, looks like it's starting to lower down even more. We may have lost Brendan's shot here. Hey, Brendan, talking to you right now, right where that lightning strike was, the leading edge of this looks like it's producing something as we speak.
Yeah, it's trying really hard to produce another wall cloud in front of the Hook region here, but it keeps doing this. It's been cycling these quick, very well-defined wall clouds, but then gusting them out. So we're just kind of watching and waiting to see if this is going to actually tighten up, or honestly, whether it's going to form something back there in the rain that we don't see. But overall, just a beautiful storm.
Beautiful storm, and I always find it mesmerizing where the lightning strikes are, right? You see that some of them will be entrenched in that rain, but a lot of that is actually well out in front, right? And it just shows you that lightning can strike, 10 miles ahead of the thunderstorm itself. It just speaks to just the beauty, but at the same time, the volatility of Mother Nature when you're watching these storms kind of get energized. As Brandon was talking about, it lifted right back up. Hey, Brandon, thank you for this, and we'll be watching your shot here closely as this kind of as this continues to form. Bring it back here. We're going to show you the radar estimates on the hail size. So this is where you get that baseball to tennis ball size hail just outside of Jerome, 2.6, 2.3. Sam, if we could bring up the lightning tracker, maybe get an estimate, since we saw that pulsing so much out of Brandon's shot. I mean, it is mesmerizing when you're at a safe distance. It looked like there was 150 strikes out of this in the last 15 minutes. We'll have a bug that appears here. There it is, 151 that appeared right here. There's only one cell, really, and it's kind of, blended out towards I-70. But this is right where Brandon's at. He's in front of that, and it can be mesmerizing at times. You'll see this cycling pattern. Another thing what you're watching here is there's plenty of rotation that's in the mid-levels of the atmosphere, but as it lowers the wall cloud, there's just not enough at the surface to connect the two, right, to create that tornado. So it just shows you that you could have almost all the ingredients, but there's just not enough there that's in place to create those tornadoes. And, for many, thankfully, right? We're watching this from a safe distance away. It's over a rural area. Beautiful, but volatile, right? And we've talked about that. Look at what we're witnessing here. Of course, we have Brandon Kopic, we got Kansas City, both of those live right now. Here's the threat for today. 3 out of 5 into tonight, and you'll see how it stretches through so many of those areas that have already been impacted so far. And we talk about this week that we've already been on. It's only Wednesday, by the way, right? And you look at the amount of warnings that we've had. 304 so far this week, 71 tornado warnings, 51 flash flood warnings. We have 9 active warnings, 19, I should say, active warnings right now. This is what it looks like live right now. Beautiful shot from Brandon Kopic. Kansas City, gloomy, but they could have storms not only tonight, but also again tomorrow. We'll have more on the development of these storms when Fox 4 Live returns.
There is one new severe thunderstorm warning for Colorado. There is one new severe thunderstorm warning for Texas.
Thanks, Alfred.
Dad, how many times have I told you just download the app?
Control your garage from anywhere. Download MyQ today.
Do you have an invention idea but don't know what to do next? Call InventHelp now for free information on how to get started today. InventHelp provides invention services that help everyday inventors get started with their idea. We have representatives nationwide who will explain the InventHelp process step by step. Over 10,000 patents have been secured through InventHelp's patent referral services. Our services include professional materials needed to showcase your invention, and 3D animation and prototype modeling that help you demonstrate your idea. Get down to the details of your idea with a technical drawing. The InventHelp Databank includes thousands of companies who have agreed to review new ideas. We've been helping inventors since 1984. Let's help you next. Take advantage of the opportunity to get started today. Go to inventhelp.com or call InventHelp at 844-7INVENT. That's 844-7INVENT.
Helping families with mesothelioma is all we do. Our firm has been offering a free book on mesothelioma for over 10 years. Since that time, thousands with mesothelioma have trusted us to represent them against those responsible. We have local offices throughout the U.S. Mesothelioma really is all we do, and there is no risk to you. Let us put a plan in place for you and your family. Call now.
Call us at 800-805-9000 or go to mesobook.com.
At Rue La La,
feel like $1,000,000 without paying the price. Seize the deals on top names before they're gone. Get in to never miss out. Shop RuLaLaw.com today.
Welcome back to say Fox Weather Alert. Dighton, Kansas, seeing a supercell that has formed, and Fox Weather Alert system has picked up on it. You'll notice not only do we have severe thunderstorm warnings, we have a tornado watch for Oklahoma and Texas that goes until 11 p.m. local time. And we are looking at right now from Brandon Kopic that storm over the farmland there, and it's produced wall clouds, a lowering from the parent storm. You can see that kind of soft serve ice cream shape where it's kind of, rounded at the top, UFO shape at times, and that rain shaft that comes down. All signs of a very powerful storm. Just doesn't have the balance for the rotation as of right now. This has been a large hailmaker, though. We take it out to Vince. Vince Welty's been in northern Texas throughout the afternoon and evening time. He's been chasing this storm for quite a while, and it's had confirmed tornado quite frequently, off and on, I should say, off and on. And right now, you're looking outside of Perryton, Texas, where you have that lowering. I always find this fascinating, too. He's right on the underside. You'll notice how dark it gets. I mean, there's plenty of sunlight, right? You can see that in the rest of your screen. But clouds aren't letting any of that penetrate through. And then you just see the ripples and the nodules on the underside of this storm. Watch as he pans back, how everything changes, and then there's more daylight, right? There's just a line that carves its way through. Another vantage point on Vince's, storm vehicle, showing us the backside where the sun could be setting there in another hour or so. We got a third team member. You've been watching us here on Fox Weather. You've probably been wondering, hey, where's Corey? There's Corey. There's Childers, Texas. We've been talking to Corey throughout the evening time. He's been on a large hailmaker. This one's produced a tornado as well. And you can see right now, it's just kind of all gray. Wow, spider lightning rippling out of that, where you have multiple prongs of that lightning bolt surging out. And then you see the cloud-to-cloud strikes as this constant pulsing that's happening in the atmosphere, but refusing to touch the ground, right? Just shows you all that instability, that latent energy that wants to release out of these storms. There's a lot of volatility, right? Just shows you why we are in the severe season and why, there's concern not only for today, but in the days to come. And so we look at Broadview right now. We do have
There is one new severe thunderstorm warning for Kansas.
And then you have stretches of severe thunderstorm warnings out of Colorado into Kansas. Another one here. So that storm that Brendan's been on and has had decent rotation, I guess it's now just turned into a severe thunderstorm warning, losing that rotation. It goes through cyclogenesis. It pulses, right? So there will be a time where it starts to form again. There's that one tornado warning, and then the stripe of severe storms south of there. Let's address some of those reports. There's Turkey, where we talked with Corey Gherkin not too long ago. Brief tornado touchdown there. Clarendon, same can be said, a very brief tornado. That's the type of reports we want to see. Brief in nature, get out of there, away from people, and it's been in remote areas. Notice beyond that threat, damaging wind, 73 miles per hour in Lubbock, Tahoka, 69 mile per hour winds. Then we've had softball-sized hail, too, in that same region, 4-inch in diameter. Now look at what's happening in East Texas. I-45 locked in with the intense storms. This, by the way, is an area that had a flash flood emergency not too long ago, and they are at the greatest risk for flooding here in the days to come. Here's why. Look at that. Outside of Teague on the western side of I-45, you're finding that area of red. Find out on our legend. That's radar estimated in the past 4 days alone, 8 inches plus. Not a good sign. You look at spots here, this is why they're under a flood watch. Areas of the Red River region, and then
there is one new severe thunderstorm warning for Texas.
Eastern Texas all the way into Louisiana. Alexandria, Natchitoches, up towards Shreveport, Bossier. The greatest risk is what we highlighted down south, 3 out of 4 risk. You'll notice tomorrow there's kind of this expansion of the threat that gets all the way up towards our good buddy Tom Walks there in Milwaukee, right? Out towards Madison, Wisconsin, striped all the way back to the Gulf Coast, 1,000 miles. But where you have the most potent energy, the warmest conditions, the most atmospheric moisture because the Gulf of Mexico keep pumping it in, and a lot of instability is right there in Houston. I-10, I-45, I-35, major arteries for those that are in Texas. Then you look at this flare-up as it comes back in, another wave Oh, look, another cycling pattern, right? It's just this rinse and repeat, can't be released. By the way, maybe you haven't heard of this before, but there's Tornado Alley. There's also Flash Flood Alley. Guess where Flash Flood Alley is? This is Flash Flood Alley. Why is that the case? Because this right here, I have to use all different colors. This is called hill country. You find all of that moisture and heat that comes from the Gulf. Then you have those cold fronts that spill in with that dry air that comes in. I know there's too much, I'm overlapping, so I'm going to show this again. Now we have the cold front that comes through, and then on the backside of cold front, what is it? Cold, dry air that dives underneath. What that allows is a volatility in the atmosphere. Remember, this is hill country, just a slight orographic lift, a ramping effect that allows all of these storms to get organized right over I-35 and then ooze towards I-45, where you have a massive population, and now you increase all of that rain, and you watch it all play out. It's not just southern Texas, but northern Texas, I-20 corridor, Abilene, Fort Worth, Dallas, Longview to Tyler, Shreveport, Bossier, all of that eventually has got to drain into one river. Mainly one river, I should say, the Trinity River. And each little notch and turn along that river leads to another risk. You get to the southern edge of it, and it's major flood stage. We'll continue to track these dynamic storms through the evening time. Stay with us here on Fox Weather.
I have, over my 30 years, seen many patients who have excessive sweating. It is very much a confidence killer. Excessive sweating is not something you have to live with. I recommend Carpe for my patients.
Carpe is by far the most effective antiperspirant I've ever used.
I love Carpe. Now I don't sweat.
Effective and affordable. It's a game changer.
Avoid expensive treatments, injections, and prescriptions. Your total body sweat solution is available at mycarpe.com. Visit today and get free shipping.
You have an excellent warranty.
Warranty?
No, warranty.
Okay, gotta go.
You must have American Home Shield.
How'd you know?
I can tell your appliances and home systems are protected. Covered repairs and replacements are taken care of. Warranty never lies. Half off cookie dough! American Home Shield. Don't worry, be warranty.
Are you over 50? Would you like to get up to 33% more income in retirement? Then call now and get this free book, Annuity Do's and Don'ts for Baby Boomers, from a leading financial firm on maximizing your income in retirement. This book reveals little-known secrets about annuity strategies in simple-to-understand terms that can help you make the right choices before buying an annuity. And if you call right now, as a bonus, we'll throw in a free annuity rate report. We've researched over 1,200 annuities summarizing the rates and benefits for you. So don't miss out on this opportunity because supplies are limited. Call now and find out how you can get up to 33% more income in your retirement, and you'll receive Annuity Do's and Don'ts for Baby Boomers and the Annuity Rate Report as an added bonus. Both books are yours free, just for calling Annuity General today.
Call 800-257-3901. That's 800-257-3901. Again, 800-257-3901.
And welcome into Fox Weather at Night, where we keep the forecast cranking even after dark. I'm meteorologist Haley Meyer. Let's review some of the best video we've seen from the day. Just an incredible lightning show as a supercell was churning near the Oklahoma-Texas state line. This was on Tuesday night.
There is one new tornado warning for Texas.
Thunderstorms there as well. Photographer Matt Lance said this thing was going beast mode, and I see why he said that. We were in awe of the radar presentation, tracking it last night, so pretty incredible to see how it looked in real life.
This thing is literally 3 football fields away from me. I just watched it go through Westy. Don't know if I got any footage of it going behind the nursing home. But man, that thing goes clear up in the sky.
And just a hauntingly beautiful rope tornado as it strikes northeast Kansas. This was in Westmoreland on Tuesday night, and unfortunately at least 1 person was killed and 3 others injured from this tornado. More than 20 structures in town were damaged on yet another rough day in Tornado Alley. Let's go ahead and head out east and show you the shelf cloud in Manassas, Virginia, right around the DC metro here. These form as rain-cooled air surges out in front of the storm. If you see one of these coming, strong gusts and heavy winds are right on the horizon. We've been talking about just how intense the severe storms have been over the last few days, really from the weekend, even stretching into the early part of this week. In total, 124 confirmed tornadoes, but that's and counting. Notice here, surveys ongoing. We already have 1 EF4. 8 EF3s, and the tallies just keep coming in as we tack on more and more days worth of severe weather. Total current warnings right now that are active: 14 severe thunderstorm warnings, 1 active tornado warning that is a confirmed tornado warning, 6 flash flood warnings, but the population number 10.4 million at risk. However, the population at risk for the tornadic storms a little more on the outskirts. We're looking at more farmland, agricultural centers throughout the Texas and Oklahoma Panhandle. But we still do have active watches in place. We have this newly issued watch here for severe thunderstorm activity. This will encompass the capital of Texas, Austin, Huntsville, Texas as well. Then we'll head a little farther out towards the western tier of the Lone Star State until 9 p.m. Central Time. We are looking at severe thunderstorm watches. And then as you head a little bit farther towards the north, closer to that center of low pressure from Kansas down to Oklahoma and northern Texas, we have the tornado watches. Here are the severe thunderstorms at hand. This is still relatively a rural part of Texas, so we'll take you up to the north real quickly just to dive into these storms that are moving parallel with Interstate 70. We have this batch here moving just to the northeast of Scott City towards Quinter, but passing over Interstate 70. So for any folks maybe traveling along that interstate going into tonight, be aware it's going to be kind of messy. We could be talking hail, damaging wind as well. But then we bring you to this cluster in between Amarillo and Lubbock. Amarillo, that is a fairly larger metro for this portion of the state of Texas, and Lubbock, we have Texas Tech, so a pretty big college town. Thankfully, this confirmed tornado warning not moving towards either of those larger cities, kind of stuck in the middle and just towards the south of Interstate 40. The cluster to the north here, we're talking that chance for some tornadoes, but we've seen here already a few tornadoes that have touched the ground. But here's this confirmed tornado warning here. We'll see if we can get our system to grab onto it. We have hail of 1.5 inches in size, but the counties here, Briscoe and Hall. We'll throw on the velocity and see how tight that couplet looks. It's moving towards Turkey. So for folks that are in Turkey, we do need to be in our tornado safe place. Again, this has been confirmed. Let's see if this is confirmed by a weather spotter or who exactly confirmed this. It is saying right now confirmed 4 miles northeast of Turkey, moving northeast at 10 miles per hour, so it is a little bit slow moving. That signature is fairly tight, but we have seen tighter signatures over the course of the last 72 hours or so. But it's saying a damaging tornado and ping pong ball size hail. It was a public confirmed tornado there as well. We'll throw on the CCs, see if we have a debris ball here. Doesn't look like it's co-located with the center of circulation, which I still have circled on your screen, so that is good news. But for folks in Turkey, we do need to be in our tornado safe place as it is about to be overhead. I would give it in the next 10 minutes or so. But this is a confirmed tornado, which means a tornado on the ground. Esteline, you are kind of in the path of where the storm is moving next. It could stay on the ground and still stay tight, but there also is a chance that it could loosen up with that rotation and then lift back up as it goes through its cycle recycling processes. So a couple areas we don't want to travel on. State Highway 70, State Highway 86, those are going to be some roads to avoid. Q, I believe is how you pronounce that, right now over your head here. I will go ahead and throw a cone on this just to see where the areas that need to be safe, where they need to go right now. But it almost looks like we have a little rotation here and some rotation just towards the south. So these storms are showing that whether it is higher up in the atmosphere or on the surface, but since this is a confirmed tornado warning, we are talking a tornado actively on the ground here. So it is going to be moving east, and we'll move on right after we hit this cone here, moving at northeast at around 10 miles per hour. And notice we draw that cone, no cities really being labeled here, which means it's in a very rural part of Texas. So that is good news. But if you are familiar with this area, just be weather aware moving forward into the next few hours. But we'll continue to check in on the radar moving forward into the evening. And people in Kansas are staring down a new reality after a tornado tore through the small town of Westmoreland. This is northwest of Topeka. Fox Weather's Robert Ray is on the ground there with the latest update.
For the past week, the Heartland has just been traumatized and hit by severe weather and twisters. Westmoreland, Kansas, yet another casualty of these systems, as a tornado ripped through on Tuesday late afternoon into this town of just over 700 people. The damage is widespread in the north end of Westmoreland, where many neighborhoods are flattened and ripped up and people's lives dismantled. Unfortunately, one person did lose their life in this town and several others injured, as cleanup is in motion here today. The process of removing all the debris and also mourning the loss of that loved one.
I do know we got 3 seriously injured in the hospital right now, but everyone on this block seems to be doing okay, except for, we got displaced neighbors. Everyone who was at the daycare, they got under just in time. So I'm just glad we made it out all right.
Stories of fear and survival are beginning to be told here in this town. One teacher recounted what she went through and the fact that some of her students lost their homes.
Just waves of emotion, as you expect from anybody. Just going through shock, really sad and emotional and upset, crying, just needing to be hugged, to happy that they found a stuffed animal that was theirs, so those memories. So it's just waves of emotion. So.
How will the community move forward in the coming days, you think?
Together. That's pretty much it. Just working together and loving each other. Those kids, they felt that.
The Westmoreland fire chief witnessed the actual tornado and described it in a very interesting way.
It was the most beautiful, horrible thing you've ever seen in your life. It wasn't big, it wasn't very wide, but it was such a long spiral tornado. Very interesting.
Meanwhile, aid groups and volunteers.
This is a tornado warning.
The community.
Anytime you can help anybody out, that's it's always the right thing to do. It's never the wrong time to do the right thing.
So from here in Westmoreland, Kansas, to the north in Omaha, Nebraska, and even in Iowa, and to the south in Oklahoma, these pockets of the great heartland of the United States damaged by Mother Nature once again. In Westmoreland, Kansas, Robert Ray, Fox Weather.
And now we're showing you just some of the damage that has been left in the wake of these intense tornadoes. This is Sulphur, Oklahoma, and notice the sheer destruction of the entire downtown area here. This was rated as an EF3 tornado, but these storms have turned deadly over the course of the weekend, and with one death now in Kansas, over in Westmoreland over the early part of this week. But we still have active thunderstorms in the area, even one confirmed tornado warning. This is in a very rural portion of Texas. It is kind of in between Amarillo and Lubbock, two larger cities. However, this system moving farther out towards the east, so away from these popular metros. So for my folks down in Texas Tech, the Raiders.
This is a tornado warning.
You could still see some severe storms that will begin to fire up over the evening as well. Now, they just dropped that confirmed tornado status, now just going back to a tornado warning, which means that the National Weather Service noticed that rotation loosened up a little bit. So for folks maybe near Childress, that's a good sign as it moves kind of generally to the north of your area. One of my weather producers, Sam, worked generally in this area, and she said it's a fairly remote spot, end of Palo Duro Canyon, which is the second biggest canyon in the U.S. So thanks, Sam, for giving me that information. Always great to have a bunch of people on our weather team helping me out with some of these locations across a spot I'm not normally familiar with. But we see that rotation, kind of two spots near Turkey that is a little interesting for you, but overall not very concerned with that particular storm. But overall, as we head into the last, say, 6 hours or so, we have seen tornadoes on the ground that have been spotted by our very own storm chasers as they watch that funnel get closer to the ground. Here are a few severe weather reports. This has been to the north of Interstate 40. Wolf Creek Park had hail of an inch or greater. Spearman also an inch or greater with that hail size. And then that brief tornado, which began at around 5:14 p.m., lifted by around 5:16. So just a brief touchdown, lifted back up. Today, the severity of that tornado threat really dialing back on that since we've seen just intense tornadoes eating up the energy for these preceding storms. But severe weather will be the story moving forward into the month of May, and we'll have more on that threat coming up when Fox Weather at Night returns.
Pharmacist and cardiologist recommended me brand for heart health support. It helps dilate blood vessels. It helps increase my circulation to be beneficial effect on my heart and my energy. It makes me healthy.
Like Reckon,
And I think I can see it. Get a free month supply plus free shipping and a 90-day money-back guarantee on all bundles. Exclusively when you call or visit Superbeats.com.
When you over 50, you like to get up to 33% more income in retirement. Then call now and get this free book, Annuity Do's and Don'ts for Baby Boomers, from a leading financial firm on maximizing your income.
There is one new severe thunderstorm warning for Texas.
Annuity strategies and simple to understand terms that can help you make the right choices before buying an annuity. Channel 2. Now, as a bonus, we'll throw in a free annuity rate report. We've researched over 1,200 annuities summarizing the rates and benefits for you. So don't miss out on this opportunity because supplies are limited. Call now and find out how you can get up to 33% more income in your retirement, and you'll receive annuity do's and don'ts for baby boomers. And the annuity rate report has an added
classic late spring severe setup. But with a classic spring severe setup, it means it's targeting the same areas that had just a really rough go of things just last weekend. And this is a little over a week later, and they're potentially seeing another intense severe weather threat. Now, we talk about a negatively tilted trough. This is key to the severity of storms. Positively tilted trough, usually not as potent. A neutral tilted trough, which means it just looks like a big U. There's no tilt to it. That also is a fairly mundane severe weather threat. When it's negatively tilted, it's the atmosphere giving it a little bit of an extra kick. So we'll watch the threat as it comes better into play, as the model guidance starts to grab on to what the atmosphere is pointing at over the course of the weekend. But for folks across the central and southern plains, Monday will be a day that you want to continue to review and check in with your weather, with your local weather, or with us here at Fox Weather. We're going to stay on this as well. We have quite a bit of southerly winds that are pulling in a lot of that moisture, the warm, moist air, and that is key as well for these storms to capitalize on. That's aiding in the instability. For Monday, this is the outlined threat where we are likely to see severe storms. It does include Lincoln, where we had that pretty intense tornado as it crossed over Interstate 80 and headed towards West Omaha. Tulsa, Oklahoma City could see some thunderstorm activity as well, and we'll take it all the way into the Dallas-Fort Worth area. The severe storm threat on Monday, we are currently at a level 2 out of 5, with all modes of severe weather on the table, from damaging wind to tornadoes as well as hail. Just how potent each of these severe weather threats are going to be, those are some details that still have left to be discovered here. The future track, though, showing you that the weekend will see rain from Sunday all the way into early Monday as this new severe storm threat comes into play. And we're coming off the heels of the worst tornado outbreak of 2024, and the rapid decline of El Nino could mean the severe weather threat won't let up anytime soon. Associate Professor of Meteorology at Ohio State University, Jana Hauser, joined Weather Command.
There is one new severe thunderstorm warning for Kansas.
Yeah, so obviously this past weekend has been something that was very notable and impactful to a lot of people's lives. In meteorological terms, it's not necessarily extreme, but it's definitely on the higher end in terms of tornado outbreaks and numbers. And just the sheer fact that we've had day after day after day of these severe threats is definitely something that is, noticeable and noteworthy. And as you mentioned already, it really skyrocketed our tornado counts for the year so far. We were a little bit under average, actually, prior to this weekend, and then since that point we've skyrocketed upwards. We've had many storm reports over 100, as you mentioned, and now we're actually slightly above average. So it just goes to show that it can all change in really kind of like the flip of a dime, so to speak.
So Jana, what the heck is happening? Because we've seen this winter El Nino was the dominant climate factor. It's one of the many factors we look at, we know. El Nino is beginning to weaken. We're seeing maybe an emergence of more of a neutral or La Nina. I guess we do talk a lot about the El Nino, La Nina buzz. Can you make a correlation to what we're seeing in the equatorial Pacific right now and what activity we've seen so far in April? And can that help us at all see what maybe May features?
Yeah, so there actually has been a pretty nice correlation with what would be sort of considered statistically normal for an El Nino type of a pattern. This winter, we saw a lot of severe weather events down in like Florida and Alabama, southern Mississippi. And that's, again, kind of like a hot spot for these El Nino type tornado scenarios. Now, as we're moving into spring, we're transitioning out of that El Nino into a more neutral phase. And again, we're actually seeing kind of some similarities with what might be sort of statistically expected, which would be an increase in tornado activity.
Channel 2.
Man, I think this is doing exactly what it did last night. You got all these storms that are pulling into it. Then you don't know where the circulation is going to pop up at.
There is one new severe thunderstorm warning for Kansas.
I'm just more concerned about the salt merging and a new circulation popping up where we don't want it to pop up. That's what my concern is at the moment.
There is one new severe thunderstorm warning for Texas.
Difficult going forward as well. So for Friday, 10 p.m. Central Time, it loads right there again. But just Monday, early into the morning, we had a flash flood emergency. There were some water rescues reported here, and it was Trinity County between Trinity and Groveton. So that is a problem because this area is going to see a lot more rain moving forward as well. We'll have more on the flood threat coming up. And Fox Weather's Jane Menard brings us a breakdown on a topic that's been on our minds quite a bit here lately, tornado ratings and the EF scale. Take a look.
Hi, I'm Jane Menard, and today we're talking about the Enhanced Fujita Scale. The Enhanced Fujita Scale is damage-based, using the information collected by National Weather Service survey teams along a tornado's path and radar estimations to measure the strength of a tornado. So let's take a look at the damage, starting with the lowest end of the scale, EF0. Minor damage occurs with a tornado of the lowest rank, with wind speeds up to 85 miles per hour. Some broken branches.
There is one new tornado warning for Kansas.
An EF1 rating includes broken doors, windows, and damage to mobile homes, with wind speeds up to 110 miles per hour. With EF2 ratings, extensive damage is observed. Roofs will be blown off, mobile homes will be destroyed, and wind speeds could be clocked up to 135 miles per hour. On the high end of the scale, we have an EF3 rating with winds up to 165 miles per hour. Extensive damage is made to multi-level homes and large buildings. With an EF4 tornado, sturdy homes and brick walls will collapse with wind speeds up to 200 miles per hour. Finally, the EF5 rating, the highest and most destructive on the EF scale. Total devastation, towns unrecognizable with winds over 200 miles per hour. No matter the rating, tornadoes can bring damage, heartbreak, and destruction anywhere in the United States. So make sure you download the Fox Weather app when severe weather is in your area to stay up to date with the latest information. Fox Weather, weathering it together.
There are 2 new warnings affecting Colorado and Kansas.
This is a tornado warning.
And that was a tornado out in Corning, Kansas on Tuesday. Tornadoes capping a record-breaking April here. The second busiest April for tornadoes on record, coming behind 2011. And for those of you who are familiar with the weather, 2011 was hopefully a year we never even get close to. And thankfully this year we weren't anywhere near it. But still, number 2, that's a significant spot to reach for tornado activity. We do have active watches, severe thunderstorm watches, as well as tornado watches at play. For Austin and out towards East Texas until 2 a.m., we've got that severe thunderstorm watch. And then for the panhandle of Texas and Oklahoma, that tornado watch, as well as central Kansas. We do have a couple active tornado warnings, both for very rural portions of the United States. But look at the hail size here, 4 inches. If there are any storm chasers, anybody tuning in, driving right along I-70 from Hayes out towards Colby, be aware, 4 inches, that will shatter your windshield. That is bigger than a baseball, bigger than a softball probably when we talk about that hail size. You want nothing to do with that. Overall, though, the counties included in this is Gov, but the number of people, 75. Now, here at Fox Weather, we care about every single life, so we want to make sure that we hit these for you. However, 75 people, again, just speaking to how rural it is. The storm motion of this particular tornado-warned cell is primarily towards the east, a little northerly motion there, but it should dissipate by the time it reaches I-70, and it might just undercut it until it reaches Hayes as well. But here's the overall rotation, just towards the south of Jerome right now, to the north of Utica. But we do have a few severe thunderstorm warnings, and even this one right here.
There are 2 new warnings affecting Kansas and Texas.
This particular severe thunderstorm warning has a tornado possible tag. Let's see if we can have our radar grab onto it and tell us what it's saying. And not having that tornado possible tag, but the threat is considerable. Reason why is because of that hail size. We'll watch this cell closely as it is going to pass over I-70, and there is some rotation in there. So that's the one piece that is concerning for any long road trippers, maybe butting out a little early from work, heading out and enjoying some time out west. That'll be a concern. So just be aware if you're traveling farther out towards the west, across I-70 as well. But we'll take you down a little farther south to a confirmed tornado warning. This is moving just towards the east of Turkey, also a very rural spot of the Texas Panhandle. Hail not as large here, around 1.5 inches. The counties included in this, Hall County. The number of people under this particular warning, right around 553. One of our weather producers, Sam, she worked in this general area. She said this is right near one of the largest plateaus, or the largest canyon rather, in the U.S. So not a lot of people are going to be living in that canyon, so that's good news. This isn't impacting a ton of people. But for folks who maybe live out in Memphis, Texas, or Childress, Texas, it looks like this cell will kind of cut through the middle of both of these particular towns. But still, you're going to see some pretty nasty thunderstorms that begin to roll through. We'll throw on the rotation, see what we're looking at with the winds and how tight this couplet is. It looks like we are potentially getting a little bit of range folding here. This is basically just the radar getting confused with what's going on. So probably a bad spot for the radar that's picking up on this. But there's that couplet, there's that rotation. And since it is a confirmed tornado, that means that there is actively a tornado on the ground. More than likely, this is because we had a storm spotter or a storm chaser that's out in this part of Texas that is looking at this. I believe, Alex, you said Whaley's on this? So Whaley, one of them.
There is one new severe thunderstorm warning for Texas.
Confirmed. So not only do they help us here at Fox Weather, they're also helping the National Weather Service and folks in this rural part of the U.S., but all over the country. There's a little more rotation to the south here as well. So all of these storms are getting stationary. There's a lot of boundaries going on, leading to this blocking effect. These storms have nowhere else to go but move up. Very similar situation to what we saw out in southwestern Oklahoma last night, very rural area there as well. But we had an anticyclonic tornado occur. We'll dive deeper into that later on in the show, but notice that range folding just getting even more prominent here as the radar's a little confused with what's going on. But for folks, if you are out in Hall County, Texas, be in your tornado safe place. There is a tornado on the ground. This isn't the only tornado, though, that we've seen come out of Wednesday. Over in Spearman, we had a very brief tornado. Reason why we say brief, 2 minutes. It was touching the ground, but it was confirmed by video, so there were eyes on it. And in addition to that, we've seen hail of 1 inch or greater. Thankfully, the overall tornado threat starting to dial back a little bit, especially after what we've seen over the weekend, which is good news. But our next severe storm threat right around the corner on Monday. And Sulphur, Oklahoma is still picking up the pieces after an EF3 tornado passed through the small town this past weekend. Fox Weather's Max Gordon was in Sulphur as they brace for yet another round of storms.
It's been a deadly couple of days for the Great Plains and Midwest region. In Oklahoma, 4 people have died due to tornadoes during this tornado outbreak over the weekend. This tornado that struck here in Sulphur was an EF3 with winds up to 165 miles per hour, and you can look all around me just at the immense damage here in downtown Sulphur. Really, it is a 360-degree view of damage where you stand right here, what used to be a busy intersection, now the epicenter of the damage as crews work to clean up. We've got a skid steer right there piling up rubble, workers chainsawing trees and telephone poles, just trying to clean up any way they can. Still, emotions here are very raw. You know, we're several days removed, but the emotions here for many residents are very raw, especially
there is one new severe thunderstorm warning for Texas.
Around 300 people were injured in these tornadoes that popped up over the weekend. And when you look just at what used to be a vibrant, historic downtown, well, it's now just a shell of itself. But the lieutenant governor was here earlier today, the lieutenant governor of Oklahoma, and he says they will rebuild. Take a listen.
But to see it where it is today, it's really tough. It's tough to see it. But Oklahoma's been through this pretty much on a yearly basis with storm season. So, you know, we've got a lot of grit, and people were out with chainsaws, you know, an hour after that tornado rolled through. So we'll get there. We will put our boots on every day and in the months and truthfully years ahead of rebuilding this.
Yeah, and really that has been the silver lining of this tornadic event, of this outbreak of tornadoes all across the Great Plains and Midwest. Neighbors coming together to help one another, you know, just in the hours after these tornadoes, coming and clearing away trees, helping, you know, business owners clear out what's left of their stores, helping people remove rubble from their homes. But it will be a long road to recovery. Luckily, though, there are aid groups on the ground right now. There have been several side-by-sides driving around with folks passing out food to workers and people who are clearing out their homes. There have been the Red Cross. They've been on the ground here setting up several shelters. And then today, the White House approved a major disaster declaration for the state of Oklahoma, freeing up additional federal aid. So help is on the way, but it is going to be a tough path for some communities like here in Sulphur.
And more incredible video coming in from yesterday's tornado in Westmoreland, Kansas. This video was taken by Buster Schmitz. Buster joined Fox Weather Now to explain what went through his mind as he came
There is one new tornado warning for Texas.
I'll tell you what, I walked out of the convenience store and there was a little bit of rain in the air and I heard some sirens and knew it had to be a tornado, and I looked up and the darn thing was directly overhead, so I, you know, just decided to get my camera out or my phone and do a little filming. But at first I was looking down straight west, down Main Street of Westmoreland, and it's like nothing was happening, and then things started to move and I seen it was going to curl to the north of me, so I moved back across the street, and once it come out of the north edge of Westmoreland and headed east, that's when I got some really good footage of it on the ground, and then the rope headed up into the sky. That rope, it seemed to be directly above me. I don't know how far, but there was no wind coming out of the rope. All the wind and disaster was taking place right on the ground about, I don't know, 3-4 football fields away to me. Wow. From me to the northeast.
It's incredible. I mean, when I see something like this, and I'm sure when a lot of people at home think of the destruction that we're seeing coming out of Westmoreland, right, through the community there, and then they pair that next to your video, it's incredible how down the road you can just see the rope and how far it spans. What was that like when you looked up overhead and you could just see it spinning overhead?
Well, I don't know. Like I say, it was pretty calm. I could hear a little bit of the noise off to the north, but it wasn't, you know, you hear all these stories about a freight train roaring. I wasn't hearing that. It was relatively calm where I was at, and I just took in the moment and the opportunity to get it on film.
So let me ask you this. It seems like, have you ever seen a tornado before? And were you scared at all at any point while you were taking that footage?
No, I have seen tornadoes. I've always been a few miles away.
This is a tornado warning.
But nothing like this. And no, I never was scared. It didn't seem like it was getting close. There was a little bit of debris floating into me, you know, leaves and like tar paper off of roofs and stuff like that. But no high winds at all where I was at, and I really wasn't very far away from it.
Yeah,
So.
I'm just mesmerized, Buster, by the images, because Mother Nature is so incredible. It's eerie, you know, how quiet it was, how calm it was by you knowing that that's just what, maybe 100 feet or more just above your head, and then the destruction that you're seeing 4 football fields away. So, you know, images and videos like you've captured are certainly very helpful in telling the story of what can happen when these storms fire up. So we're glad that you're safe.
Yeah.
And our heart goes out to your community too.
Look at this, the flag becoming a symbol of hope for many in the damaged areas in the Cornhusker State and all across Tornado Alley. We're right here with you, weathering it together. We'll be right back.
With Rex MD, I can get generic Viagra online.
When it's time for date night, he's always ready.
Stay in the moment with Rex MD.
Do you have an invention idea but don't know what to do next? Go to inventhelp.com now and get free information on how to get started today. InventHelp provides invention services that help everyday inventors get started with their idea. We have representatives nationwide who will explain the InventHelp process.
There is one new severe thunderstorm warning for
Over
Texas.
10,000 patents have been secured through InventHelp's patent referral services. Our services include professional materials needed to showcase your invention and 3D animation and prototype modeling that help you demonstrate your idea. Get down to the details of your idea with a technical drawing. The InventHelp Databank includes thousands of companies who have agreed to review new ideas. We've been helping inventors since 1984. Let's help you next. Take advantage of the opportunity to get started today. Go to inventhelp.com for free information.
At Rue La La, feel like $1,000,000 without paying the price. Seize the deals on top names before they're gone. Get in to never miss out. Shop RueLaLa.com today.
Helping families with mesothelioma is all we do. Our firm has been offering a free book on mesothelioma for over 10 years. Since that time, thousands with mesothelioma have trusted us to represent them against those responsible. We have local offices throughout the U.S. Mesothelioma really is all we do, and there is no risk to you. Let us put a plan in place for you and your family. Call now.
Call us at 800-260-0800 or go to mesolaw.com.
And while we might just now be in the thick of severe weather season, we are officially 1 month away from hurricane season. Fox Weather hurricane specialist Brian Norcross joined Weather Command with a prediction for this year's hurricane season. Take a listen to what he has to say.
We have these very warm water temperatures and the atmospheric conditions that we can forecast now with some uncertainty attached to it. do point to a busy hurricane season. Let's start in the Atlantic. This main development region out here, first of all, you see it's like near the top end of the scale. It is super warm. The more warm water, the more energy to make storms stronger sooner, and the strongest storms that do the most damage very often come out of this area, so that's why we have concern about that. But let me add here, look at the warm water going all the way up to near Europe there, and then on across the Caribbean. So it's this kind of L-shaped warm water area like we saw last year. And then we also have a slightly cooler than normal area here. Now, when the water is warm, the air is rising from it. Of course, warm air rises and it sinks where there's cooler. So we tend to want to get a high pressure system here where there is sinking air. And so the question is, does this warm area of water change where the high ends up? Why is that important? Well, because the high here is what drives where the storms go. So that's an open question because this is a second year for this kind of warm water pattern we haven't seen before. And we also have Sahara dust and more Sahara dust than normal for this time of year. There's where it is.
There is one new severe thunderstorm warning for Texas.
We see it on our dust tracker. Here you see where it is right now, and over the next week, the forecast is for a really significant plume of Sahara dust to make it all the way over here to the Caribbean, right over the main development region. Well, Sahara dust actually shields the sun some, so is that going to push the temperature down in the main development region? How these things interact is somewhat unknown, and exactly what's driving all that warm water I was showing you is not really known. A lot of people are speculating about it, but it's how the atmosphere and the ocean interact. So this being thicker than normal for this time of year might actually modulate that a little bit and take that down. But we'll see exactly what happens there. So here's the interesting thing. Here, this is, I know this is all busy business here, but let's look first of all at the blue. Just ignore all the rest of it. The red being the orange. So the blue last year, here we were at the beginning of May, was very warm, as you see, and then it went to record warmth. This is that same box out there in the Atlantic. But now, take a look at this, guys, when we look at this year. Here's where we are. We're above that, so it's warmer, but here's another year. Here's 2010 that was super warm, kind of like this year. And look, it went down. It was still warmer than average, but it was not at that record level. So the point is that what the water temperatures are in the spring is not necessarily conducive to have them be as warm as they were last year. It's an open question at this point.
That's what stole a lot of headlines too, I'd say, would be over the winter we saw a spike in sea surface temperatures, and some even saying, I mean, we've never seen it before. And judging by the line graphs here, that's the case. Does the dust play at all a role? I mean, in 2010, seeing that drop, I mean, would it possibly mean that a more significant plume of Saharan dust that's persistent could keep those temperatures a bit cooler?
Yeah, to keep it a bit cooler, but then there are other factors as well that have to do with how strong the circulation is in the Atlantic. The stronger it is, the more cold water in the north gets pulled to the south. That can make the south cooler. If the circulation is weaker, then the south stays warmer. So there's a lot of factors that are in play, and this is why forecasting exactly how warm it's going to be in the summer is kind of an open question.
There's the numbers.
Yeah, here are the numbers. So you know about the Colorado State number, 23 named storms, 11 hurricanes, 5 Category 3 and above. Now, when we look all around the world, there are agencies, there are universities, there are government agencies, there are private companies that do this. And when you add up all their forecasts and average them, you get the same exact numbers, although the 23 is actually between 23 and 24. We have some private agencies that actually have it up in the 30 to low 30s range, and some have it lower. But anyway, the numbers are in that range, but these are big numbers. Here's where this 23 would be. Only 2 seasons would have more named storms than that. So we're in this very high-end territory if these forecasts are right. And they're driven by those Atlantic water temperatures, of course, and the temperatures in the Pacific, which is always another factor.
And Oklahoma is still recovering from the state's first EF4 tornado since 2016. Katie Byrne joined Fox Weather Now with an update from Marietta, Oklahoma.
Going on day 4 since the strongest tornado from the weekend outbreak struck this town here in Marietta. A lot of people are thinking back on what happened, but also trying to prepare for another round of storms that we're going to be hitting towards us later on tonight potentially. People are trying to patch up their roofs using tarps to cover their homes and businesses before that rain starts. But many are just feeling lucky to feel alive, especially when you look around at some of the damage we're seeing here. People were talking about incredible stories of survival. More than a dozen people actually piled into a gas station near some of the worst damage to take cover when they realized the tornado was on the ground. Many of them were on nearby Interstate 35. They got off right here in Marietta and took cover with strangers who now are really turned more like friends. You could see the worst damage hit huge buildings right by the highway where so many drivers were. James Friesen was one of those drivers, a truck driver who delivers produce. He went to that gas station and he's among many survivors right now, but of course, understandably, he says he's still shaken up from what happened.
The truck started vibrating and shaking and I just grabbed I leaned forward in my bunk and grabbed both my seats and just held on. And I don't know how hard, like my muscles were so sore the next morning, so I must have been holding on tighter than I thought. It still feels surreal, and I'm still collecting everything in my mind over it.
Yeah, you could see behind James too as he's talking to us. Those bucket trucks hard at work trying to restore power. That's a big priority. We had more outages earlier. They've gone down quite a bit, but we did have some more storms overnight that did lead to some other outages across the state. Things are looking much better though now. We've got still about 1,300 customers without power across Oklahoma, but today kids are back in school in Marietta because they got power restored yesterday. So we're going to be keeping up with all of these updates on the ground here, but of course those linemen may be staying a little bit longer than expected because these next round of storms are hitting just 4 days after what we saw this weekend, Jane.
I know, on guard. Has anybody talked about that? I mean, there's so many family members, I'm sure community members who are without homes. Are there shelters in place for storms that could pass through these same areas?
Yeah, the Red Cross has set up 2 shelters. There's one in Sulphur and one in Ardmore, which is about 20 minutes from where we are here. And then there are a number of donation sites set up all across really the state because of the amount of towns that are impacted. I want to just tell you a little bit about things that I saw today too. One person posted on Facebook that they were offering a room in their house for someone to stay at if they needed it. Another person said that they have just a plot of land if they wanted to pull over, and if they had a camper, just stay there for the next months to come to figure this out. But people say we're in Love County and it's called that for a reason. People seem to be really looking out for each other.
Yeah, it's amazing to see how communities come together so quickly. It does bring a lot of hope in, scenes like what we're looking at behind you. Katie Byrne, thanks for the report there in Marietta. And we're showing you some video out of Nebraska, but this was as a tornado hit a train. Cars were derailed, but thankfully the conductor and the engineer that were taking the video, everybody was fine that was on this train, but very scary. You can see the debris just being lofted in the air, flying at this train car. Scary video that we've seen come out of the last few weeks. The end of April has been just exceptionally active with violent tornadoes, and unfortunately May is looking to follow suit with the tornado train potentially still continuing to roll. On Thursday, we do have that threat for severe weather, primarily just going to be damaging wind and hail. That tornado threat really backing off as we get into Thursday. So that is a nice breath of fresh air for these folks across the central U.S. The concern, though, is going to be flooding, especially when we talk South and East Texas as well. We already have flood alerts in place, so folks throughout Austin, Dallas, Houston, be aware that you could run into some flooded roads, especially if you have some rural drives in your path that you normally take. On Thursday, here's that severe storm threat. We have a smaller area and still relatively rural since we are just out towards the west of the Dallas-Fort Worth metro at a level 2 out of 5. Still, though, again, that tornado threat not as present as we've seen over the weekend and through the early part of this week. This is the exclusive Fox model showing you this training storm system as more and more rain just piles in throughout East Texas. On Wednesday, we had that level 3 threat. Notice it was just towards the north of Houston, so Houston
not quite seeing the worst of it, but areas just immediately to the north. That's where we're already starting to see some flooding. And early on Monday, we even had a flash flood emergency for locations along the Trinity River. And that would make 2 flash flood emergencies in the month of April for East Texas. The amount of rain we're expecting to see here, 2 to 3 inches, but we do have a couple spots near Abilene, out towards Lufkin, heading towards Shreveport, where we could see as much as 3 to 5 inches of rain. This is because we have so much moisture just being pooled into this area that these storms can then drag all of that water in the atmosphere down and condense it as just buckets of rain. But what's coming down the pipeline with this transition from an El Nino to a La Nina, we have more of a wavy set of a jet stream, just allowing these low pressure systems to then intensify and be negatively tilted, which that just means the atmosphere has just that more extra power to it to then create the threat for severe weather on Monday. We're looking at a level 2 out of 5 for the same areas that we've been talking over the last week that also have still been picking up the pieces of very intense tornadoes. For Lincoln, Nebraska, Sunday through Tuesday, Monday and Monday evening, there's your problem.
There is one new tornado warning for
All modes of
Kansas.
severe weather are possible, so continue to check in on your local forecast. And listen in as a tornado approaches this home in Elkhorn, Nebraska on Friday. It's been a very rough patch of weather, but we are heading into a more intense patch of weather going into May. Your regional forecast is coming up right after this. Be sure to stay tuned here at Fox Weather at Night.
Have you ever felt leg pain, restlessness, cramps, tingling, swelling, numbness, itchiness, or coldness? Then you need the new, clinically proven Legzercise Pro, the natural circulation booster that uses continuous automatic leg movement to soothe pain and promote healthy circulation the natural drug-free way.
After using Legzercise for a week, I felt like I wanted to go for a walk again without pain like I used to.
Legzercise Pro's patented walking simulator propulsion
There is one new severe thunderstorm warning for Texas.
Along its concave track, creating constant movement and flex at both the knee and ankle joints. It's like having a physical therapist right in your own home.
It's helped with the swelling and the pain. The tingling feeling is gone.
Call right now and order your very own Legzercise Pro, the clinically proven automatic leg mover that soothes pain and naturally promotes healthy circulation. Call now.
Are you over 50? Would you like to get up to 33% more income in retirement? Then call now and get this free book, Annuity Do's and Don'ts for Baby Boomers, from a leading financial firm on maximizing your income in retirement. This book reveals little-known secrets about annuity strategies in simple-to-understand terms that can help you make the right choices before buying an annuity. And if you call right now, as a bonus, we'll throw in a free annuity rate report. We've researched over 1,200 annuities summarizing the rates and benefits for you. So don't miss out on this opportunity.
There is one new severe thunderstorm warning for Kansas.
Find out how you can get up to 33% more income in your retirement, and you'll receive Annuity Do's and Don'ts for Baby Boomers and the Annuity Rate Report as an added bonus. Both books are yours free, just for calling Annuity General today.
Call 800-257-3901. That's 800-257-3901. Again, 800-257-3901.
There is one new tornado warning for Texas.
And welcome into Fox Weather at Night, where we keep the forecast cranking even after dark. I'm meteorologist Haley Meyer. Let's dive right into some of the best video of the day. And check out this incredible lightning video as a supercell churns near the Oklahoma-Texas state line. This storm was on Tuesday night, and photographer Matt Lance said that this thing was going beast mode. And honestly, I tend to agree. That storm looks incredible. We were in awe of the radar presentation, tracking it last night, and so it's really incredible to be able to see it firsthand and how it looked in real life.
This thing is literally 3 football fields away from me. I just watched it go through Westy. Don't know if I got any footage of it going behind the nursing home. But man, that thing goes clear up in the sky.
And a hauntingly beautiful rope tornado.
There is one new severe thunderstorm warning for Texas.
This is in Westmoreland on Tuesday night. Just looks like a worm moving into the sky, that tight rotation. Unfortunately, this storm killed at least 1 person and injured 3 others. More than 20 structures in the town of Westmoreland were damaged on yet another rough day for Tornado Alley. And let's go ahead and head out farther east. How about this shelf cloud in Manassas, Virginia, which is near the D.C. metro? These form as rain-cooled air surges out in front of a storm. If you see the clouds looking like this, well, you can expect strong gusts and heavy winds are on the way. And you can hear this tornado as this massive wedge crosses over a road over in Heartland, Iowa on Friday. Friday was just an intense day for weather, showing some of the most incredible tornado video that most meteorologists truly have ever seen. But that's only one of hundreds, in fact, that have occurred over the last few days over the weekend. So from April 26th to 28th, so that's the weekend that we just had, 124 confirmed tornadoes. But here's the real kicker. Surveys ongoing. We have more potential tornadoes that could add to this count. Every day we check in with this graphic and it's getting even more and more. We've had 8 EF3s, which are intense tornadoes, 1 EF4, which was that tornado out of Marietta. But that was, I believe, in 6 years, the first tornado that was rated an EF4 for the state of Oklahoma, just speaking to the severity that we've seen. But if we want to put the distance here, if you add up all of the path lengths of every single one of these tornadoes, all 124 of them, it is the same distance from roughly Chicago to Atlanta, Georgia, 589 miles worth of impacted land from tornadoes. Then we'll show you out in Minden, Iowa, some damage and what caused the Weather Service to call this one an EF3. They use damage indicators to rate it upon the EF scale, and that damage indicator then correlates to how fast roughly the winds would have to be going in order to see something like this. So EF3 damage is most walls collapse except in a small interior room. I just circled that for you. This is why we say bottom floor of your home, most interior room in your home, because those have a better chance at withstanding EF3 and or greater tornadoes. Now, in certain homes, depending on how well they are built, a home could be completely removed from its foundation and slid off. That's also indicative of EF3 damage. And these are photos of what the National Weather Service saw firsthand out in Minden, Iowa. Here we have a metal building destroyed, especially when you see the twisting of metal. That is indicative of EF3 damage. And then we bring you to this. All walls of a home collapsed, not much there, not even an interior room. So they really do look at the structural integrity of buildings, trees, all types of things when they rate these tornadoes. But it has been an intense day in the weather community. And then we even bring it over to Sulphur, Oklahoma. This was an overnight tornado on Saturday, just showing you the extensive damage. This tornado was also rated at an EF3. But then we bring you to this week, where the weather system kind of boomed. We had a very interesting weather phenomena occur out in southwestern Oklahoma. We had an EF1 tornado, but on radar looks a lot more powerful than that. The reason why the National Weather Service could only give it an EF1, it was in such a rural part of the United States. But honestly, I'm very thankful that that was the case. This was intense rotation, and it actually was an anticyclonic tornado. which less than 2% of tornadoes across the country are anticyclonic. Typically, we have tornadoes that will rotate cyclonically or counterclockwise, and that's just due to the Coriolis effect for this minor detail in the atmosphere. So to see something like this is very rare to see, and just speaking to the intensity of these storms, but I was watching this one here at Fox Weather at night. It was quite an interesting cell. We were watching it for just over 3 hours. And people in Kansas are staring down a new reality after a tornado tore through the small town of Westmoreland. This town is just to the northwest of Topeka, Kansas. Fox Weather's Robert Ray was on the ground there with the latest update.
For the past week, the Heartland has just been traumatized and hit by severe weather and twisters. Westmoreland, Kansas, yet another casualty of these systems, as a tornado ripped through on Tuesday late afternoon into this town of just over 700 people. The damage is widespread in the north end of Westmoreland, where many neighborhoods are flattened and ripped up and people's lives dismantled. Unfortunately, one person did lose their life in this town and several others injured as cleanup is in motion here today. The process of removing all the debris and also mourning the loss of that loved one.
I do know we got 3 seriously injured in the hospital right now, but everyone on this block seems to be doing okay, except for, you know, we got displaced neighbors. Everyone who was at the daycare, they got under just in time. So I'm just glad we made it out all right.
Stories of fear and survival are beginning to be told here in this town. One teacher recounted what she went through and the fact that some of her students lost their homes.
Just waves of emotion, as you expect from anybody. Just going through shock, really sad and emotional and upset, crying, just needing to be hugged, to happy that they found a stuffed animal that was theirs, you know, so those memories. So it's just waves of emotion. So.
How will the community move forward in the coming days, you think?
Together. That's pretty much it. Just working together and loving each other. Those kids, they felt that.
The Westmoreland fire chief witnessed the actual tornado and described it in a very interesting way.
It was the most beautiful, horrible thing you've ever seen in your life. It wasn't big, it wasn't very wide, but it was such a long spiral tornado. Very interesting.
Meanwhile, aid groups and volunteers from the region have moved in, passing out food and trying to help the community.
Anytime you can help anybody out, that's it's always the right thing to do. It's never the wrong time to do the right thing.
So from here in Westmoreland, Kansas, to the north in Omaha, Nebraska, and even in Iowa, and to the south in Oklahoma, these pockets of the great heartland of the United States damaged by Mother Nature once again. In Westmoreland, Kansas, Robert Ray, Fox Weather.
We're showing you even more damage as multiple communities have been impacted significantly by the severe weather over the weekend. This was from Sulphur, Oklahoma, where an EF3 tornado ravaged their downtown area. Pure devastation here. We'll continue to bring you updates, but we also have to talk about the severe weather that's down the pipeline. As early as Thursday, we are tracking another threat for severe weather. We're currently sitting at a level 2 out of 5 for a very small, fairly rural area of Texas and Oklahoma.
There is one new severe thunderstorm warning for Kansas and Nebraska.
The reason why they highlighted this spot at a level 2 out of 5 is because it has the greatest chance at seeing diurnal heating. So a little extra clearing in the day, allowing a little more energy for this particular pocket of the U.S. While the tornado threat isn't 0, it is significantly reduced compared to what we've been looking at even from Monday and Tuesday of this week. We also are going to be talking damaging wind, but large hail is going to be a very key factor. We've already seen hail over the course of Tuesday reach 4 inches in diameter. Brandon Kopic got caught in a hailstorm, and he said these were baseball, even softball size hail. He said they were cracking his windshield. We don't want any of that to happen to any of you you guys. He's experienced with probably having to replace windshields, having to intercept storms. But if you don't want to make a trip to the dealership, I highly recommend making those precautions as we head into Thursday for spots in Texas and the central and southern plains. The timing on this, we will see some convection spark up into the early morning hours. Then we'll have a few MCS convective systems roll through across the evening. Again, where I just circled, that's that level 2 out of 5 where they are expecting a little more diurnal heating. So the winds maybe a little bit stronger there. The hail could be a little bit wider, more larger rather. That's probably a better word. But as we head into Friday, into the early overnight hours, we're going to watch as the storm system heads through I-35 and I-45, impacting some pretty large metros across the Lone Star State and just adding insult to injury, just soaking spots of East Texas and creating another risk for some flash flooding. For Dallas, here's the exclusive Fox model. We're showing you some storms towards your north and the west at Thursday into the evening around 9 p.m.
There is one new severe thunderstorm warning for Texas.
For the overnight hours, which is good news. Hopefully you guys are nice and peacefully tucked in bed at this point, but you will see the gusty winds, the hail kind of roll through. So for folks who maybe park their cars outside when they go to bed at night, maybe try and find a parking garage and awning, just to take one extra necessary precaution. I promise you it's worth a little extra walk in the morning to get to your car or maybe a parking garage bill. By Friday, 5 a.m., a lot of the storms have exited, but we are going to see a little more rain on the backside of this. For Dallas, we're expecting potentially 1 to 2 inches through Sunday, 3 to 5 as we head farther north and south of this metro. And a beautiful display as last night's storms fired up in Kansas. Mammatus clouds, a sign of strong storms nearby. Fox Weather is your severe weather HQ, and we've got you covered until dawn right here on Fox Weather at night. We've got a lot of weather to unpack here, especially as we enter the month of May, which is climatologically speaking some of the most active weather we'll see monthly this year. We'll be right back.
There is one new severe thunderstorm warning for Kansas.
Again, a confirmed tornado on the ground in downtown Conyers. This is a very dangerous and life-threatening weather event. Get into the interior section of your house, away from windows or a basement if you have. And there's the debris right there in the Millstead area near the Rockdale Medical Center. Right. Channel 1 Atlanta.
There is a storm coming, an event like the world has never seen before. The emerging event will have little to do with weather, but more about developing situations that were foreseen many years ago. We have always warned you during severe weather and news events that affected many. Now, Channel 1 Atlanta begins a new series to warn you about what's coming soon and make sure you are prepared. Join us on a new journey, as according to a recent survey, a lot of people believe we are living in the last days. current news events show us now more than ever. In history, time is setting the stage for the coming storm. A new series, now playing only on Channel 1, Atlanta.